This PSA was brought to you by The Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the Foster. We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter.
Yeah, I want.
Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on. He likes it. It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
That's right, Peter G Show. It's that time again. Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing well. Beautiful day out. Still have that May gray in Southern California. Kind of cloudy, but not sweltering. I'm already hearing about people in the South bitching about the heat already. Seems to me like it wasn't too long ago. You're going, I can't wait for summer. Careful what you wish for, all right? Just be thankful. I'm thankful just for waking up every day. Then we take it from there, and after that, it's a shit show. But, life is good. We have a great show tonight. We do. I'm excited. Scratch that. We have an amazing show tonight. And I'm going to tell you why. Because coming up in a few minutes, I got podcaster, freethinker, mattkim on the show from the mattkimpodcast. I just feel like this guy has an exceptional way of delivering a message. How do I put it? He knows how to talk about confrontational things in a non-confrontational kind of way. Not like me. I have a harsher tone. I'm just naturally like that. I don't mean it. I'm just heavier on the tone. I'm loud. Hi, my name is Peter. It's just the way it is. But when I first saw this guy, it was just like, it was soothing. He was feeding me information, the truth, depends who you ask, but in a soothing kind of way. He wasn't just ramming anything down your throat. And that's what I liked about him. And I started watching him and following him. And I go, I got to get this guy. And I did. And he's on the show in just a few minutes, right here, because that's the way I roll. Don't mention it. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. I know it takes a lot of time out of your life. I mean, dedication, because there's a million things you could be doing. But I also want to remind you, please, 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 I need you to go subscribe, especially to these guys. These guys are nothing but trouble for me. They keep on taking shows down. They keep on suspending me. And on top of that, worse than anything, I think, is that they shadow ban me. How do you know to watch if they kind of keep you out of the limelight? And the only way you're going to know is if you subscribe. It's free. I'm going to beat YouTube at their own game, or they're going to end up banning me, and that's just the way it goes. I'm not all that bad. We do a lot of variety here, talking about all kinds of things. But the minute I get to current events, they start, putting their thumb on my neck. But on top of that, it hurts all the other shows too. So please subscribe. We're on 11 different platforms: Facebook's, LinkedIn, X. Can't get arrested on X. I don't know. Rumble, BitChute. It's easy. You Google Peter G Show. And also, for those of you who I know have a busy life, you're commuting in your cars, you're spending half your life going back and forth to work, you got things going on, you're at the gym, you're taking a walk, whatever, especially when you're at work, because we all know what work is boring. I get it. Google Peter G Show podcast. We're on 26 different or 27 different platforms. You can take the show, put an earbud in your ear, and take the show on the road with you, all right? It's real simple. It's that simple to do. And I like the video portion of us, but I try to keep the show audibly friendly. There's times when I do show videos and it's kind of hard to get the picture, but I really try to make it to where if you're just listening to the show, you still get pretty much the same effect. It's important to me to, get the message to you. But please, just do that. It's the next best thing to being here. And that's it. So, coming up in just about 2 minutes, Matt Kim from the Matt Kim podcast is going to be on this show right here on Life of Peter G, The Peter G Show, every Wednesday like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, God willing. And so far, so good. So I'll be right back. First, we got to just hear a brief message from my good friends over at Clean Star Products with their money-saving fuel additive, DX1 driver. So I'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Tyrone Thompson of CleanStarProducts.com. This is DX1 Driver in the news, and here's what our friends have to say.
So I'm here to recap on the DX1 I've used. I put it in the oil and I put it in the gas. While I'm using it just for about 3 tanks. Cleaned everything out. I got every ounce of power back in my truck.
When Jared's truck was new, it had a lot of power. Then over time, it began to slow down. He got it all back with our DX1 Driver program.
Something you got to see for yourself. It's a great product. It's affordable. And it blows all the other additives and esters out of the water.
DX1 Driver is the finest oil in the world from a California environmental company. It goes into the fuel system and the oil. It's the only green grade product qualified for the carbon credits program, giving you better fuel mileage, lower emissions, and increased horsepower. So join the fuel savings revolution today. Go to CleanStarProducts.com/shop.
That's right, folks. Clean Star Products with their money-saving fuel additive DX1 driver. All I can tell you is they actually have a product that works. I use it myself. When it was first given to me, I put it in one of my high-mileage vehicles. I have a pickup truck that has over 200,000 miles on it. My daughter's a horse girl. We got to pick up hay. We do a lot of, she does a lot of dirty stuff. That truck is a pig. I mean, it's a great truck, but you got to put your foot in it to get it to move. It drinks gas, and started adding that into it. And within the second or third tank, I started feeling the difference. Again, it's cleaned out everything. It started bringing back the horsepower up. And I noticed that I didn't have to put my foot in the gas as much as I used to. Even my daughter noticed it. So it does work. And they're very proud of their product. If you want more information, go to www.cleanstarproducts, and there's a phone number there. Ty Thompson will speak to you himself. Call them. If you got questions, call them. Let them answer your questions personally. They're into this. I mean, this is what they do. And should you decide to order, you tell them you saw it on the Peter G Show, please let them know I'm doing something. You order something, they'll get you 5 bottles for the price of 4. That's right. You heard it here. 5 bottles for the price of 4. Just for mentioning that you saw it on the Peter G Show. Again, they know what I do and they still sponsor me. So God bless them. All right. All right. Let's take a drink. Woo! Smooth. I like it. I'm excited because right now, waiting in the wings, Matt Kim is there, coming onto the show, and this guy's going to bring a ton of truth and information to you, the people. And he even is probably going to melt some of my libtard friends' brains, but in a nice way. I love everybody. I'm not one of those people that say, you just unfriend me if you don't think the way I think. We're just bringing information, putting it out there. A lot of people sitting on the fence. That's why I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube, because there's a lot of people on there that don't know one way or the other and have a good chance of listening. So here he comes. All right. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, from Hotlanta, GA, podcaster, freethinker, Matt Kim.
Peter
Yeah.
G, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, no, believe me, the pleasure's mine. We don't have a band budget, so that was the best I could do to bring you in.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's all about, I told you earlier, it's all about the money. Otherwise, believe me, there'd be a good sized band right here. But I I found you, believe it or not through your websites and all that. I was scanning TikTok, and I have a mutual acquaintance that's on there a lot, that does a lot of the same stuff you do. And I saw you on like a live where like there's like six, or 7, 8 people, 4 people talking about matters, whatever the topic was. And I guess you know him because I'm sure you were in the same room with him talking. The band Beard, Michael.
Okay.
And I saw him a couple of years ago. He's been on this show, and he just has his shit together. You know what I mean? He's factual. He does the digging. He goes to get the knowledge. And when I saw you, and then I started seeing you pop up on your clips and shorts and everything like that, I'm going, I like this guy. I'm going, he's got a delivery unlike mine, and it's smooth, it's comforting. You're not screaming at people. I'm not screaming at people, but it feels like I'm screaming at people. And I go, this guy, how first of all, you're on YouTube as well, right?
I try to be on all the platforms. I think it's important, just like you, to reach over to the masses, maybe the people that don't necessarily agree with you, don't want to get stuck in an echo chamber. So I think it's important to get over to CommieTube and to hit all the other kind of bigger platforms that maybe the message is a little bit harder to get out.
I hear you. But the problem is I keep getting suspended and they keep on. They're going through shows from 2021, still taking shows down. As of 2 weeks ago, they took down 2 shows within 3 weeks again. How do you avoid? Because I don't do these current event, and the here and now shows, news all the time. I'm talking about alcoholism. I'm talking about, all kinds of stuff. But you are mainstream current events, correct?
I mean, we try to hit a lot of different topics. We will talk about political issues. We'll talk about social issues. We'll talk a lot about family. I think family is the most important thing, and it's not talked about enough. So
True.
We'll try to hit a lot of different things. It's usually that once they kind of ping you and they decide, all right, this guy, we don't really like what he's saying. I think there's just a button that they press, and they've definitely pushed that button on me. So we try to diversify over all the different platforms. And the reality is that, if people really want to hear your message, they'll find you. They'll find you somewhere. People understand how the internet works now.
True, but here's what the thing is, people are like, well, go to Rumble. It's like, I'm on Rumble, but I'm trying to reach, as you just said, the people that are not so much the like-minded people, just people who just are unaware and just don't have a clue. I actually talked to a girl that was on this show. She was a 35-year alcoholic and now 2 years sober. And we were talking something. I said, well, Trump is going to do this, for the campaign. And she goes, is he running for president? See what I mean?
You can't help her.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that.
She's a nice girl. She goes, I don't follow politics. I'm going, you don't have to. You can't take 2 steps or turn on a TV and this stuff is all over. But I had to take that into account, that there's many people like that might listen if they knew.
Yeah.
So that's why you're here, to help me with the delivery, because I've always believed in third party. Like, I'm just a show host. What the hell do I know? But why don't we take a second, because I kind of got ahead of myself. I'll take a minute, give everybody a brief synopsis of who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how long you've been doing it. I mean, any way you want to package it, but let everybody introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Mattkim. Thank you for having me on your show. It's amazing. I've been on the internet, probably talking to a camera, I'm going to say a little bit over a year. So not even that long of a time. And I just kind of decided that I wanted to talk to a camera. I felt like I had something to say. And the first clip that I did, it just kind of went viral. And ever since then, this is just what I've been doing. I think the big motivation for what I do is, number one, family. I have a very young daughter and super concerned about the future for her. And I think that's really the biggest motivating factor. I think also is that as my content starts to go and as the platform starts to grow, I get a lot of messages from people. The number one message I get from people is thank you for what you do. And for the longest time, I didn't really understand what that meant. And then I found out that my content is very highly shareable. So people like to share my content. If you are a conservative and you want to share a conservative idea with someone that maybe even a family member, but they're super liberal, it's hard to send over a clip of someone yelling, because if they're yelling, then it feels like you're yelling at them. And if you send over a content that's too long, then the person receiving it probably doesn't want to listen to it or hear it. If you send over a 1 or 2 minute clip that is rather logical, rational, that doesn't seem like you're yelling, then they're more likely to listen to that. So I have a huge following of people that really like the content because they love to share it. I actually received a couple of messages from 70-year-old grandmothers the other day. And they said to me, Matt, I just want you to know that I share all your clips with my grandchildren. They are so liberal, it's hard for us to have this conversation. So I can send your clip, and then we use that to spark and stir conversation and have discussion about an idea. So when I heard that, when I started getting that type of inbound from people, I realized what it is that I'm doing. Because when you start, you have no idea what you're doing. When you start a show, maybe someone will listen to you, maybe not, no clue. You just kind of do it. And as time goes, you start to develop purpose, your vision starts to change. And what we're trying to do is trying to get people out of their digital ghettos, out of their mind control mechanisms that are built into our lives, because we are told as the populace, you have to believe one certain thing. And what they don't want is for you to think for yourself. If you are a Republican and you hear and you only talk about Republican issues mimicking what is on Fox News, they'll never shut you down. If you are a Democrat or if you're a liberal and you only talk about liberal ideologies, they will never shut you down. If you sit there somewhere in the middle and you question both sides, you encourage people to think for themselves, make their own decisions, they really don't like that.
Yeah. Well, look, you mentioned a couple of things that were very similar. My daughter's now 18, but I fear for her still because she's still in that, these are our future leaders. We're seeing all this crap going on at these colleges, and these are, possibly going to be people who are going to be having influence over this country. It's like scares the shit out of me. And I also, you were saying that people write you and say, thank God for what you're doing. I get the thank God for what you're doing, and you're a fucking idiot. I get, you can't please everybody. That's the problem I have, very much so. And I've quit worrying about it. But you just mentioned, like, the grandmother, you're being the third party making the delivery. It's easier because these people see me every week, and it's like, oh, Peter, but that's why I've always believed in that. When people would buy cars, the salesman's there, and all of a sudden they bring the manager in. And the manager comes back and says the same thing the salesman said, but for some reason they're more open to hearing it from the manager.
I'll buy it.
Yeah. What's your background? Well, what'd you do before? Before this, because even though you just walk into this, and I know it's an evolution of how you start and how you keep building, but not everybody just walks into this the way you're doing it.
So I own a lighting company. That's what we do. We sell commercial industrial lights. Essentially, I'm a light bulb salesman. That's what I do. And the podcasting, it just came out of literally nowhere. I was home one day and my daughter was really young. I think she was maybe 4 months old. And I'm yelling at the news like most of us do. And I'm yelling at the news and my wife comes running down the stairs. Shut up. You're going to wake up the baby. Go tell someone that cares. I think I will.
Careful what you wish for. Right.
And that was really the genesis of it. I walked into the office and Will, who's in the studio here with me, I said, Will, we're going to start a podcast. And Will, he just looks at me. He goes, I like podcast. And we said, okay, let's do it. And I opened up my computer. I opened Google. I said, how to start a podcast. I had never been on a podcast before. I had never done an interview before. I had never interviewed anyone before. I had never been in a studio before. I had no background in any sort of media. Just kind of figured it out slowly, one thing at a time as we go.
Are you kind of techie?
Sure, why not? I mean, just as much as anyone else, I guess. You know,
no,
not a huge
because-
background in tech.
Look, there's people that still can't operate their iPhones, let alone, you know what I'm saying? So you got to have some kind of savvy, because your background and things like that, that's not just open up your computer and go.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally what it was. Open the computer, figure it out,
Right.
learn about the basic concepts of lighting and sound, and then start kind of putting your own vision into it. I almost feel like not having background and education in this helps you because you can see clearer. And I think that applies for everything in life. I think people that are overly educated and experts in certain topics don't see the bigger picture because they only see the exact thing that they're supposed to see. I think we're seeing a growing community of people that aren't experts in field, that have the ability to take 2 or 3 steps back, see a bigger picture, and be like, something's not right here.
Wow. Look, I know you had to know that when you started the podcast, there's a gazillion podcasts out there. Like everybody, now you can just take your phone, record into your phone, and hey, you got a podcast going. And I'm always thinking to myself, how do people decide what to find and how to find and what they want to listen to? I mean, my daughter listens to stuff all the time, and it's, there's a lot of them. You go, how the hell is that possible? There's so many out there, yet they're still very viable, and people, there's enough for everybody if you're good.
I think there's 2 routes to podcast success. One is that you pay for your influence and you pay for your reach and you pay to get on other people's shows and you essentially pay to play. I think that is the majority of the large podcasts out there. Really? And then the ones that have long-term success are the ones built on social sharing. If you, whoever's watching, enjoy Peter G's show, the best thing you can do is introduce his show to someone that you care and you think would want to hear it. That is the only way and the best way to support. Helping with the sponsors, fantastic. Watching and clicking like, amazing. However, sharing the content with people that would appreciate the content, that is literally the best way to grow. And if you're in sales, warm transfers are the best way to get a sale. Cold calling is the worst. Warm sales are the best. If you say, hey, I worked with this guy before, I listened to this guy before, why don't you check him out? I think you would enjoy it. People are more likely to give you the time because sometimes you have to listen. You have to be willing to commit. If you have an hour show, you have to be willing to commit to the entire hour show to get a feel of your personality, get a feel of your delivery, get a feel of the types of things that you talk about. And you'll never do that if you just watch the first 30 seconds and you make your decision. So if you're listening, if you're watching and you enjoy Peter G's show, share the show.
You say that because not too long ago, I did something on, I've done several shows on the Lahaina fires. I don't know if you follow, and, because I don't believe, and we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of things. But the thing was, all of a sudden, a little bitty short blew up. And so people just came on, but they didn't understand my show flow. I'm not a news anchor. I'm an entertainment guy who happens to bring, entertainment with a purpose. I bring things on. And so they're on, and how on a lot of these things, you can do commenting, and things like that. And it's like, but then they watch the show and they go, get to the point, get to the news. It's like, and there we go, So let's get to some of these things. I just wanted to really get a feel for it because I didn't know a whole lot about you, except I go, I don't know. In my opinion, you came out of nowhere because I've been busting my ass and I can't get arrested sometimes. You think you're going to do something that's really hot and it doesn't do shit, but again, I get up every day because it's just, I've been in the music industry, bands my whole life and did fairly well. Not as good as some, but a lot better than others. Been able to go be all over the world, a lot of places, but a band is just writing songs. You keep on writing songs. And if you don't get a record deal, you just keep on writing more songs. It's just that simple. And you may get the record deal from the very first song you wrote 5-10 years ago, but you just keep on playing. So that's what we do here. But you definitely caught my ear because you hit a lot of touchy subjects, which divides families, divides people. And that's what's going on in our country and the world and things like that. And the first question I really want to ask you, because you know how damning it is when people get into arguments, families get into arguments, because if you're a left, let's just say left and right wing, if you're a conservative and you believe, and you're trying to tell your friend, like, I don't understand how you believe this. You know, look at all this, all the facts I'm showing you, and you could show them things, and they just look at you and going, how do you believe that bullshit? How come you, I don't understand how you're believing this stuff. How do you go about, I mean, what do you think is the biggest problem? How do you reach these people to, like, because it's so divided?
Well, I think first off is the previous generation used to tell children at the dinner table, you don't talk about politics and you don't talk about religion.
Yeah.
We were all raised that way. Don't talk about politics and religion at the dinner table. And I think that was a huge mistake because we didn't grow up learning how to debate, how to hear other sides, how to communicate effectively. And it was under the guise of being nice and polite, and you don't want to ruin dinner because it can get heated. But the reality is that if we had these discussions growing up and we were taught how to have these discussions properly and accept other people's point of view, I think we'd be more effective communicators and we'd be more effective at having very difficult discussions. We're in a state where no one wants to have a tough discussion. No one wants to hear the other side anymore. And I think that was a huge mistake. And I think that's something that we should be encouraging our future generations to do. So that's number one. Number two is that I think if you want to convince someone to agree with you, I think it's really hard to, hey, look at all these facts. I swear this is true. It doesn't work. That just doesn't work. We've seen over the last 4, 5, 6 years that way of speaking to people is just not working any longer. I think the best thing to do is, if you are a man, be a man of respect, be a man of someone that looks up to, be a man that people find to be genuine and honest. And whenever that friend or that family member that you're trying to convince, whenever they run into a problem in their life, if you're known as the man that has his shit together, I don't know if I can say shit.
Yeah, you can.
If you're known as the man that has his shit together, eventually they'll come to you for advice. They'll come to you for guidance. They'll come to you for help. And when that happens, they'll be like, wait a second, but he also believes these other things. Maybe there's something to that because he has his stuff together. I'm struggling. He helped me when I needed his help. And you're able to open up people's minds in another way. So I think as a society, that's what we should do. We should encourage people to be better. And then all of a sudden your opinions and your analysis of situations becomes more respectable instead of forcing ideas down someone's throat, because we are fighting the indoctrination of society. We are fighting the indoctrination of institutions. These are things that are been burned into our minds since we've been young. It's really hard to deprogram someone in one conversation. It's almost impossible. The school has told you have to believe one specific thing your entire life. The government and media has told you have to believe certain things your entire life. And all of a sudden, because you show up with one report and you say, hey, look, I'm right, what are the chances that you're going to change their mind? It's very low.
Are you on Facebook? Do you do Facebook?
Maybe I am.
Okay, so I'll take that as a no. But I'm going to tell you that I started out originally on Facebook Live. I didn't do YouTube for years. I used to store my stuff on YouTube, upload it, but I left it there as a safety. That's all it was. Little did I know they'd be ripping the shows down. But when I first started, it was all because I follow Facebook to stay in touch, because I have people all over the world in a lot of different parts of the country. You know, again, I traveled a lot, have a lot of friendships. I'm very blessed to have these friendships. But I'd keep up with people. And at the time, Facebook, you know, I've been on Facebook since 2009. You see people taking pictures of their food, prayers for my mama, she's having surgery, somebody's passed away. So I really started life with Peter G doing divorce and single parenting stuff, because I went through a phase in my life that just turned things upside down for me, changed careers, everything. But there's people on there that I love to death, but they're one of those people that are completely opposite of the way I feel, but I'm not going to not like them. But yet they're those people that say, if you like Trump, for example, because these are the most I hear, if you like Trump, then just unfriend me. And that's rough, because they're that deep into the hatred. And I just feel like, and I can't get an explanation out of them as to why do you feel this way so badly? They never come to me like on the show. I can do call-ins. Nobody ever calls in to combat that indifference. I only get people that come in that want to talk like yourself.
I really think we are in a society of a mind virus. I think that people are stuck in their ways. I think people we haven't been, again, teaching people the ability to think past given narratives, to have difficult conversations. I think in that type of situation, if you have a friend and they're like, unfriend me if you like Trump, they really don't want to be unfriended. People really care about the amount of people that follow them and watch them and click on their views. We are in a clicks and views economy. I think the counter to that is the next time they post a picture of their dog, be like, I love your dog. Next time they say, oh, my mother is sick and she's in the hospital, we're praying for her. I hope she recovers well.
All right.
You do that enough, all of a sudden, like, wait a second. I thought that these Trump supporters were horrible people, but there they are commenting on my life, showing real, genuine interest in my life. Maybe what we've been told about them isn't true. I think taking the obvious is, no, look, he did a good job with the economy. He didn't start any wars. These are the obvious things to do. But everyone does that. Showing empathy for people, showing people you care. I think what people want the most in life and society right now is genuine touch, genuine reach, genuine conversation, because we live in such a dystopian type of digital world that just a little bit, even the smallest act of kindness, it goes such a long way.
I do have a few of those people who say, this, I see them bitching, just unfriend me, but yet they still talk to me. But I'm sure that deep in the back of their mind, it's another fucking Peter moment. It just is, because I love him, but Jesus, he's so screwed up, because of, I don't agree. And I kind of stay away from that can of worms, because I feel when they're that hyped up, there's no reaching them, because you just said it yourself. You start preaching the obvious, no wars, economy better, but yet they're oblivious to it. They don't believe Stevie Wonder can see that shit. I mean, how do you get, that's where it blows your mind. And you're going, I don't get it. And they look at you and they go, I don't get it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also don't want to admit what they know and don't want to admit what they see. If we talk about COVID, for example, there are a lot of people that were extremely compliant during COVID, that were the mask enforcers everywhere you went. Yeah. And now 4 years later, like, maybe that wasn't right. But that was your persona. That was your personality. That's what you were known for. Who wants to say, no, like, I really messed up 4 years ago? Like, it's a pride thing. People don't want to give that up. So I think also that we need to be accepting of them. So if you say that you thought COVID was the worst thing. I mean, you thought COVID was going to end the world and you were that person. And you're starting to wake up to the reality that maybe it wasn't as bad as advertised. This is an opportunity not to be like, look, I told you so. You were wrong. I was right. You were wrong. Because if anything, it's going to push them further into the other side. If anything, we should be like, look, it happened. And be more accepting, bring them back in. I think that's a place where we are right now. Is that, especially with the government, I think people are really upset that the government has never apologized. We really messed that one up. We're sorry.
I don't think they ever will. Look, I totally agree.
They have to. I honestly believe that until they do that, people will never let it go, that the distrust for a government institution will continue to ramp up to the highest levels every day. The distrust is higher than the day before. The only way to reconcile that is somebody in positions of power. They have to come out and be like, look, we really messed that one up. We're sorry.
My number one enemy with YouTube is when I start talking about that whole thing that happened 4 years ago. They still, that is like, the medical misinformation genre. And I had a doctor on, Dr. Brian Ardis. He was a really well known on this stuff. That was the first time. I mean, they took me off within hours of the show and they just wiped me out. But and so I've had to learn on like what I can do and to turn off the YouTube channel at times and the hell with it, or take the chance and see if they go for it, because I've literally had the podcast version that was on YouTube and the audio version, and they took one down and left the other. So the AI makes no sense. But you just said it. It's like, I don't know what it's like over in your neck of the woods. I can step out my door and I promise you I'll go to a grocery store or something like that, and there's going to be somebody with masks on. Still. And I'm just dying. I'm going, what the hell? Just take the day. You're outside. It's friggin' 80 degrees out. I just want to shake them, and because I care.
And I used to have that same feeling. Like, why? And especially if I'm out, maybe with my wife, and I'm like, look, they still got their mask on. And part of me wants to ridicule them. A part of me wants to mock them. A part of me wants to think that's just so stupid and ridiculous. And we're literally outside. Actually, I saw a couple. We were in Cancun doing a family vacation maybe about a month ago. And there were people outside at the beach in Cancun with their mask on. And I was like, this is so stupid. This is so ridiculous. But then you also got to realize people all have different fears in their lives. Some people are scared of dogs and won't go next to a 1-pound Shih Tzu. Some people are scared of water and won't go into a lake because they're scared of sharks when there's no sharks in a lake. Some people are scared of the dark still. People have phobias over the weirdest, strangest, oddest things. I just tack it up to another one of those.
Look, they sold it pretty good. I mean, they sold it good. And here's the biggest thing. For years, because I'm only 10 years, about 10 years to where I came around and started really looking at things. My life it wasn't the greatest, but it was pretty damn good. And I was just floating through life, didn't care, like a lot of people. But when I started this show, I swore, I said, I'm not going to talk about religion. I'm not going to talk about politics. And then all of a sudden, all this started coming about. And I just felt like, hey, I have a voice. And if I don't, shame on me, because this is serious stuff. Again, your children, my friends' children, the world, everything. And the government, I understand the reason. People are like, you used to trust the news. You trusted, that's where you went to get information, the news. And although they probably always lied or, weren't the best, but it was never this bad. So how do you break somebody? There was a guy on Facebook. He's going, our economy is the best it's ever been. And some guy, true story, told me Joe Biden, true story. And somebody said, are you out of your friggin' mind? He said, have you gone to the grocery store? He goes, don't you read the papers? And then I'm going, I'm not even going to even comment. I don't know where to start. I don't think he's one of those, as you put it, just one of those. You're never going to reach that guy. Or if you do, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to be a brain surgeon. He's sold.
I feel like people all wake up to the reality of the world in different ways. For everybody, it's a different trigger. It's a different lever that gets pulled that makes them stop, question, and kind of look at the reality of the world around them. Everyone has a different pain point. Some people it's the economy. Some people it was pandemics. Some people it is war. Whatever it is, everyone has a different thing in the world that makes them stop and question. For some people, it may be the fires in Maui, where they said, that looks really odd. Like, why are those houses not burned, but those houses are burned? And why are they still under construction? And why they only get $700 per family? But then the people at the bridge, they got all their money instantly. So it just depends on the people. I think everyone wakes up at different times. I think there is a huge population of people waking up. And again, I think it's our responsibility. If you can show them the crack in the matrix that one time, all of a sudden you see it all around you, all over the world. And
True.
Once you realize that the news is lying to you now, the real aha moment is, have they been lying to me this entire time? And then once your mind starts going down that rabbit hole, you're never going back.
It is different for everybody. I had a woman on the show, believe it or not, when I did a show on extraterrestrials, but she said something that kind of reverberated, through me or resonated through me. And it was, everybody has their own journey. And, so you can't expect, and I don't expect, and I do realize that there's, different things trigger different people. If I do a show on alcoholism, I'm going to attract people who can relate to that. Their parents were alcoholic, or brother was an alcoholic, they were an alcoholic. I do a show like this, it's more of the current events people, the people who kind of get it. Then I get a few that just happen to tune in and will tolerate listening to me. That's why I have you, because I know they will listen to you a lot better than me, because, it's just friggin' Peter. There he goes again, going on a rant, because once a month I do a show on current events, most of the time by myself, because I get to pick the topics I want to talk about. And if I get a guest that like yourself, well, then we both go at it, but I let you do the explaining on this kind of stuff. You know about the Smith-Mundt Act, right?
Mm.
I never knew about it up until about 2 years ago. I don't understand. First of all, for those of the Smith-Mundt Act, I mean, I can understand there being a law that the news needs to stay semi-legit. They need to not be just spewing whatever they want because it's the news. They need to stay semi-true. But how the hell, and I can even understand Obama turning it around to put the spin, because this is where we are because of it. But while Trump was in office, it's such a bad law or act or whatever. Why in God's name didn't he turn that around? Because he was the hit with fake news constantly. What do you think the deal was? He had to know.
The reality is this. Once the government seizes power and they take more controls into your life, they never give it up. Whenever they create a law or they create a division and they put more processes in place to be able to implement more control into your life to gain more power, they never give it up. There is no president ever that said, do you know what? We're going to reduce the size of the government. We're going to reduce expenditure, and actually got into office and actually reduce the size of the government and reduce expenditure. Nobody does. That's the nature of power, right? Once you have it, there's no way you can give it up. And the federal government right now has so much power, there's no way they're going to give it up. And if they have a law in place where they can use the mockingbird media to propagate you and your mind and your ideas, why on earth would they voluntarily give that up? It's just not in their nature to do it.
I'm just saying that when Trump was actual president, he's the one who created the phrase fake news, just kept on saying it. You would think in his best interest, he would have brought it back to real, as close to real as possible, but he didn't. And that's why it kind of dawned on me going, why didn't he do that? It would have been to his advantage for the truth, more truth, instead of all this bullshit that's going on.
I think it's the situation where we're in a clicks and views economy. Polarizing news sells. Polarizing news is what people click on, people read, people watch, people listen to. And why would they change that? Once you know how the system works, you can manipulate the system. If you had a completely fair system, it actually doesn't benefit people in power very much. It would benefit us as society, but people in power, regardless of if you are left or right, people in power never want to give up power. And that's just indicative of literally every president, congressman, CEO. People don't want to give up power.
I can see how, again, this is the biggest problem, is because I understand that people trust every newspaper. They're thinking that there's no way these guys are going to, why would they lie to us? And that, I think, is the biggest hurdle, getting these people who believe, the headline readers. That's what I call them. They read one sentence, two sentences, maybe a paragraph if you're lucky, and that's it. They got what they need to know, and they're sticking to it because I just read it in the news. And that's the biggest hurdle, and it's killing me, because it hurts me to know that these people are just believing this because they don't get it yet, and it's just sad. I mean, sad.
I think a flaw there is hoping that a president or the government will solve our problem. I think it's a responsibility of us as a population and as a populace to solve the problem, and then let the government and the leadership react to our decisions that we make. I think we give too much power to them. We're hoping that Trump comes in and repeals this act. No, what we should do is just turn off their news. If we turn off their news, they would have to adjust because no one's consuming anymore. We're hoping that someone else solves our problems when really we have the power to solve the problems ourselves. Stop listening to ABC. Stop listening to CNN. Stop listening to MSNBC. Stop listening to Fox News. Stop listening to them all and listen to people that actually are genuine, honest, thinking for themselves. And once you give power to the people and to more independent people, then the establishment media would have to change, would have to alter. Let's not wait for the federal government to make a decision on our behalf. Again, they're not there to help us. They're not there to serve us. But what they do is they react to us. So if we all turned off the mainstream news, they'd be like, all right, something's not working here. Maybe we need to change.
Well, that's look. After the pandemic, then they tried a different variant, and then they tried the monkeypox. That didn't last very long, And now, there's another bird thing. We'll talk about
Bird flu.
Yeah, sure. It's like, what can we do next? But the problem is, you're saying, yeah, you know better. I'm not going to watch those things. But I know people who love CNN. I know people who love watching The View, which blows my mind, because those yentas, I mean, there's all these posts I constantly see that The View's been canceled. The View's been canceled. It's all hoaxes. I wish it was true, but they keep on pumping money into those, blowhards, and they're on, and there's people that think that that's a great show. I mean, there's something for everybody, but you can't get those people to turn it off.
And I don't want them to turn it off. If that's what you believe and that's what you want to believe, and that is the matrix in which you want to live, if you want to live a life of control, some people want to be controlled. Some people find comfort in being controlled. Some people actually look forward to the idea of someone telling them what to do and how to live their lives. It's easier to do. So if that's what you want, that's fine. Not my cup of tea. It's not what I want, not what I would envision for my children. But if that's what you want, fine. I think the most important thing is that we protect people's right to have the ability to have differing opinions, to see things differently. If you want to live in this controlled environment, go for it. I don't want to live in a controlled environment. I want to live free. I should also have just as much a right to do that. I think the government coming in and telling us, no, you guys all have to live in this controlled environment, I think that's the hard part. I think that's what I'm most against. You can talk about these issues, but you can't talk about this. You can talk about ideas that you can talk about, these wild, crazy social ideas that you don't agree with, but you can't talk about ones I agree with. It's just the way that's broken up. It's a very hypocritical model that we're living in. I think we're losing freedoms. I think the most important thing to do is retain and hold on to our existing freedoms. And when I say I'm fighting for free speech, I'm fighting for your right to have a shit idea, right? I may not agree, but you should be allowed to have it. Don't tell me that my ideas are shit and I can't say it out loud. I can say it, you can say it, and that's how we come to an agreement that we will find a better idea between the two.
I do have, again, I'm lucky enough to have a few friends that we don't see eye to eye when we start talking about this stuff, especially like even when we're talking about COVID. I got a friend, he got every vaccine because he goes, don't you trust your doctor? And I'm going, it's not that I don't trust them. They're not as much doctors as they used to be. I said, and I explained to him, I said, they're just being fed information and they're taking it. And a lot of them, their licenses were on the line. And, I said, it's complicated, but I said, no, not really. I said, I question everything now, not going down the deep rabbit hole, but I just want to know what's going on and make my own choice and not just take somebody's word. I said, don't take my word for it, but dig a little deeper. And they don't. They just don't.
And that was the hard part of that time, right? Is that, doctors, when you go see a doctor, you're going for their opinion, right? Because they say, hey, you have a serious disease. Maybe you should go get a second opinion. They literally tell you it's their opinion on the matter. But during COVID, only one opinion mattered. And anyone that had the altering opinion, you were not even allowed to hear from, which is counter to how they actually handle literally everything else. I think you need surgery on your toe. We would like to do it this way. Oh, maybe you should get a second opinion. Or the patient naturally goes, well, I kind of don't want to do that surgery. I'm going to get a second opinion. Oh, amazing. Great. Let me know how that goes. That's how medicine and healthcare used to work. That's how it's supposed to work. Is you hear various sides and you come to your own logical decision for yourself. You make a decision based on as much information as possible for yourself. During COVID, it was like, no, this is the only way you're allowed to live your life. This is the only thing you're allowed to think about. This is the only way you must comply. And anyone that says anything different to us, they're trying to kill you. They're trying to kill you and they're trying to kill your grandma. That's bullshit. That should not have happened.
All right. Oh yeah. Well, We can go on and on. It's just limited. I mean, they really sold it good, and again, people, trust. It's all about trust. But I don't know. It's hard to be a doctor nowadays. I know my parents, when they were alive, they had a physician who got out of being a doctor, and he wasn't an old guy, and he owns a brewery now with his son because it was just so political. It just made it. And nowadays, it's such a racket. Like, they have 10 minutes to see you, and hurry up. And, whatever the pharmaceutical agent comes in and tells you, hey, we got this pill for this, we got this pill for that, and it's just like, well, you got those symptoms. Okay. It's this, it's not fixing it. It's just covering it up. So I question everything because I don't like medications if possible, but a whole nother, again, that's a whole nother way to get banned on some of these platforms. I want to play a quick video, and I want to talk about everybody's favorite January 6th. But I want to play a video from our friend, and then we'll talk about it. So check this out real quick, and then we will go into it, because it's, the scrutiny, it's still right in it. You still got the big war, lock him up, and all this crap. And it just drives me crazy. It's like, I watched it with my own eyes, but they go, well, I watched it with my own eyes too. I'm going, well, then what's the problem? But there's a problem. Here, check this out.
I love spontaneous comments without thinking. You didn't research that case at all, did you? See, you guys claim that the events of January 6th took place because of the words of Donald Trump. You conveniently left out Donald Trump's words and the things he said and specific phrases and words he used. You conveniently leave out the fact that he had a pre-authorization of call-ups for National Guard members in which the mayor of Washington, D.C. declined in writing, which was submitted to the January 6th committee. So you conveniently leave out the fact that Rachel Maddow said on her show that we know it didn't come from Trump's rally, it was too far away. You conveniently leave out the fact that the head of security gave a sworn deposition in which he stated those were professional agitators and not spontaneous protesters. And that particular case right there, the reason why they were charged with sedition, is because they found that those people had been planning to do something for months. See, it had nothing to do with Trump's rally, Trump's speech. That particular group of people had been planning something for months. So again, no correlation to Trump. But then your next comment was, well, they did it because of Trump's rhetoric leading up to the election. Oh, okay. So now we're moving the goalpost again. How do we know it wasn't from rhetoric from 2016? Where you guys continued to claim that he stole the election? Or Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi just said the other day they still believe that the election was stolen. How about Stacey Abrams? Could it have been rhetoric from her election where she claims the election was stolen from her? Or only matters when it comes to Trump? So was it spontaneous or was it not spontaneous? Because that case was not spontaneous. But you knew that, right? Before you posted the comment.
I love him. He's always got deeper, detailed things, such as yourself. But I think that this whole January 6th is a big divider. When I see these people bantering on, again, I use Facebook as a gauge because I follow it so much. It's just live and a lot of chatter on there, and it's been around a long time. And the age group is very broad, again, from upper 70s to mid 20s. And what's your take on? I mean, I watched it when it went down. I watched the cops opening the gates and letting people walk in and things like that. But yet, the claim is that there was insurrectionists, and I know there was agitators in there. You saw the way they were dressed, but it's a big divider amongst relationships and friends who believe that it's all Donald Trump's fault and he made this happen because of it. What's your deal on this?
Well, an insurrection is a organized armed uprising, an attempt to overthrow government, right? That's what an insurrection is, an armed and organized attempt to overthrow government. Okay. The question I like to ask a lot of people when I get into the January 6th debate is, how did it end? How did January 6th end? And most people pause because they have no idea how it ended. How did your organized, armed attempt to overthrow a government, how did it end? And most people sit there and just stare at you blankly because the news didn't tell you how it ended. But if you have they say 100,000 people marching on the Capitol trying to overthrow the government, and they were armed and organized, and it was sent over by possibly the most popular president in the history of the world. How did that end? And the reality is that they went home by curfew. So you're going to tell me that they tried to overthrow government in an organized fashion. They found out that there was early curfew in Washington, D.C. that day, and they decided, oh, no, like we'll start again tomorrow because we're supposed to go home right now. Does that even make sense? Logically, does that make any sense to you? Is that they were trying to overthrow the most powerful government in the history of the world, and by curfew, they decided, oh, we should follow the rules. It's 6:45. We're supposed to be home right now. Let's just all go home. In what world does that make any sense? 7:30, Congress is back in session. If Congress thought that it was such a dangerous operation, number one, Congress people are cowards. If they thought that there was a legitimate threat to their lives, they're not going back in that building. Not that day, maybe tomorrow. How do you know someone's not hiding there? How do you know they got everyone out? You had 100,000 people storm the Capitol, armed, organized, trying to overthrow government. You're going to go back in that building? You're not. Logically, it just doesn't make sense.
AOC and Nancy Pelosi feared for their lives.
And if you're a congressperson like AOC, and she had that video that everyone saw of her saying she was hiding in the bathroom, and they said, get her, get her, get her. And she did all this. And we find out she was not even in the Capitol building that day. She was not there. That entire video and the anecdote that she told is completely fake and made up. That should be criminal.
It should be.
It should be criminal. If you are deliberately, knowingly lying to the population and you're in an elected position of power, especially federal power, it should be illegal, 100% illegal to knowingly lie to your constituents. If you make a mistake, I can understand that. If you didn't have enough information, I can understand that. She literally said that there were people there trying to kill her, and they were knocking on the door of the bathroom. And we find out later that she was not even in the building that day. That should be criminal.
Matt, the people that believe that this was a real deal only saw what the headlines are, and they didn't see the retraction or the uncovering of the real truth. The blinders come on. They go, you're full of shit. Nancy Pelosi just got a Medal of Honor from Uncle Joe for her heroic efforts in the...
What a hero.
From the January 6th. It's like, you gotta friggin' be kidding me. She got a Medal of Honor. Crook. But
yeah,
tell that to another side.
I think people are starting to realize, I think people are starting to see more of the footage. So everyone had ingrained in their minds exactly the same 4 images of what January 6th looked like. And then people are starting to see the pictures of the Capitol Police letting people in the door, people rolling around, taking pictures, taking selfies. And people are like, wait a second. I didn't see that. I didn't see that day. I didn't see that for 4 years after that. I think the truth is coming out there. I think people are less polarized about January 6th as they once were. I think that's the power of independent media. I wish they would release more tapes. Speaker Mike Johnson, when he said that he became Speaker of the House, that he would release all the tapes, and then he didn't. So I don't know what's going on over there. I think we do know that there were a lot of federal agents involved during January 6th, that they were guiding them. We've had a lot of federal agents come out and say that place, the Capitol, is a labyrinth. You don't just automatically know where Nancy Pelosi's office is. You don't just show up and you're like, and there's no signs that say, hey, Nancy Pelosi's office is this way.
This way.
You have to know where you're going, meaning someone has to guide them there. Who guided them there? These are questions that the government themselves don't want to answer.
I'm sure I know for a fact that, that there was instigators and people, and then you get some dumbasses that were probably meant well, but got caught up in the whole thing and overdid. We've all done stupid shit. It's like the guy at the party that gets drunk and then really overdoes it or something. But I think that you could show these people these tapes. There's the ones that are sitting on the fence that may come around, but there's a large group of them that hate Trump so badly that it doesn't matter. They just hate him, and all they care about is locking him up. And if you ask them why, they say, because he's a liar, and he's a this, and he's a that. And you go, well, what did he do? And then it's crickets.
I think President Trump right now, being a Trump supporter, has become the new punk rock. Which who would have thought that would be the case? But right now, if you're a President Trump supporter, you have the opportunity to go viral online. We have a lot of celebrities and musicians and rappers coming out in support, something that they weren't doing in 2016. So I find that very encouraging that he's become this almost social icon for people. I think that you don't need to convince everyone to win an election. Actually, if you just take the people that agree with you or maybe sitting on the fence and you convince them to come out and vote, that's actually enough. If more people just came out and vote, because a lot of people think that the democratic process doesn't work, people think that their vote doesn't matter. And I think that's a huge psyop because it encourages people to stay home and not vote. I think during 2020, I think encouraging everyone to wait for election day to vote instead of utilizing the mail-in ballot system that was created, as corrupt as it may be, encouraging people to not use it, I think that was a huge systematic error. I think we should tell people to vote whatever way, shape, and form you can, because the reality is, as much as you tell yourself, I'm going to go vote on election day, things happen in our life. It's a little cold. Yeah, I was going to go, but my kid, he's got a little bit of sniffles, so like I should stay home. There are a million reasons why people decide that they were going to vote but don't show up to vote. The reality is that any person, any friend that you have, everyone has that one friend. I want to vote for Trump, but my vote doesn't matter, so I'm just not going to vote. I don't vote because my vote doesn't matter anyway. If you could convince one person each, everyone has that friend. If you can convince that one person each, I know your vote doesn't matter. I know you don't think your vote doesn't matter. The worst you're going to lose is 15 minutes of your time. Let's just go anyway. If enough people just took their friend that doesn't vote because they don't believe in the system, if you just took them to vote, the election would be over instantly. All you got to do is convince one person.
I don't want to say like I'm a Trump lover. But I'm definitely not a Trump hater because I'm not offended. I had a boss back in that was just like him. He was so friggin' tough, but you knew what you got. But he drove me absolutely friggin' crazy. I was walking on eggshells with this guy. But at the end of the day, the bottom line of the business was good, but he drove everybody kind of nuts because he was so intense. But Trump is just like this. But look what okay, you don't like Trump, great, if you don't like him. But you're going to tell me the guy we have in office right now, that this is going to be our leader again. And this is what blows my mind. It's like, where's the common sense?
I like people that I feel like are honest, genuine, and I feel like I'm talking to them. If I'm not talking to you directly and we're not having a conversation and someone's telling you exactly what to say in your earpiece, I don't really want to talk to you because what's the point of talking to you? I'd rather talk to the person that's telling you what to say, right? When Trump does his mean tweeting, when he goes up on stage and he starts telling his ideas, at least in my heart, I know this is Trump talking.
Yeah.
When Biden comes on and speaks, you have no idea who's feeding him his ideas. You're not voting for Biden. He's actually not running anything. He's not actually doing anything. There are a group of people behind him that you have no idea who they are. You have no idea what their interest is. You have no idea if they're good people or bad people, or if they're being honest or self-serving. You have no idea. So you're not actually voting for Biden. You're voting for a shadow group of people behind him. At least if I vote for Trump, I know I'm voting for Trump. And it's in a crazy world where nothing seems real anymore. At least I want to vote for a person that I know and I feel like that guy is there. I refuse to give my vote to a shadow group that I don't know exists. I don't even know who they are. If Biden came out and said, hey, these are the people behind me, and I knew who they were, and I can do my own research in them, then maybe I'd be more likely to at least consider it. That's not the case. Biden is not in charge. Clearly, everything is from a teleprompter. because he literally stops reading when the teleprompter says stop. He has no ability to ad lib or even give his own ideas. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So who's in charge of him? Who's in charge of the government right now? And in a country that we're supposed to have transparency, I refuse to vote for and side with the group that refuses to give us that said transparency.
I think, regardless if you don't know who's behind Biden, I think just the direction of everything that's going on, the depletion of this country that has gone down so quickly, regardless of whether you know who they are or not, it's a pretty big indicator that it's not a good crowd that's behind the whole scenes. Wouldn't you say?
I mean, we went to, I was with my daughter and my wife, and we were on a quick road trip, and we decided we're going to stop at Burger King to pick up some quick food. And it was like $30 for the three of us. And I was like, this can't be right. This is so expensive. How are people affording to live their lives and to eat? And we're talking about like fast food. Never mind good food.
Yeah.
I think people are understanding. It's crazy. Things are so expensive.
For a Big Mac meal or something like that, it's $12 to $15 over here. And
It's
that's
wild.
and they're not even, I think either my hands got bigger or the sandwiches got smaller, but I don't eat a whole lot of stuff like that. But everything to me looks like it has shrunk since I was younger, and I don't know. It's just, again, the obvious, there's so much obvious in your face, but there's people that are just denying for the sake of, they're willing to let things go to hell and say that everything is great just to not have the orange man. And again, there's no doubt, I think Trump's got to answer to people too, but he draws the line to a limit, I feel, about how much advantage he's going to take of the people of this country. And that's why they don't like him, because he's not following the plan. And I fear for him. And although some people say, well, good riddance, but I don't know how the hell he does it, because I know that they're not going to let this go too easily.
I mean, I truly do believe that there are a population of people that just really enjoy the control. People like not having their freedom. There are people that just enjoy living their lives out. People want to be told exactly what to do, how to live their lives, because it's so much easier just to comply. And if that's what you like, it is what it is. I think it's the worst way to live controlled. I think the most happy you will ever be is if you live free, even if it means you live with less. But, who am I to decide what you want in your life? Some people just prefer to live their life as sheep.
Living as a sheep is one thing, but I don't. As you said, the sheep can't afford to live. There's, I don't know how I got plenty of friends that are hand to mouth daily, in other parts of the country. I mean, if the car breaks down or something like that, they don't have the money to fix it. And that's my problem. I'm going, and you still want to believe that we're doing good and you're going to vote. And they're the ones that are going, they don't say it to my face, but I know they got to be thinking it, because I talk about this stuff all the time.
I mean, but that's the plan, isn't it? To create chaos, to remove dollars and remove money from people's pockets, to make people in a hard and difficult situation, so that when the new levers and the new establishment comes in and they say, hey, we have a solution. This means new digital currency. This means more control. This means more surveillance. This means you have to give up your rights, but we'll help you improve your life. They have to ruin your life in order to offer a solution. Create the problem so you can come back and solve it later. I mean, we're seeing in real time, everywhere, in every aspect of our society. They're trying to create problems in literally every aspect of your life, because they want to eventually come in and be like, look, we got a solution for you. We're here from the government and we're here to help. That's what they want to do.
Every loudmouth organization screams so loudly, and even these people behind the scenes, your George Soros and all these people, there's not that many of them when it really boils down to it. And who the hell appointed, Bill Gates, who appointed these people? They're self-appointed, arrogant assholes that, are going to choose what you and I are trying to choose with you. And what people don't realize is you're right. If we just say enough is enough and stop doing this, they're going to have to sit down. because there's not that many of them. But that's the problem. People don't really get it. They think, just like the gay pride stuff and all that. I got no problem with gay people. I just had my favorite lesbian was on last week. You know, we're talking about what she agrees with and what she doesn't agree with in the organizations. But the problem is they scream so friggin' loud that it makes they try to make, and it makes people feel like there's a huge population of these people, you know, of this lifestyle. And there really isn't. It's a friggin', 4% or whatever. And the trans is 0.0, or whatever the hell it is. But that's the problem. They scream very loud. They're really good at making it feel like it's the majority, and it really isn't.
And again, I think that's the problem, is that they are the minority, yet they are allowed to scream at the top of their lungs that their way of life is better. But the majority is not allowed to scream at the top of their lungs and say their way of life is better. You can only promote one side, but the other side is the anti to this side. You're not allowed to say it. You have to let both sides get their idea out. I think the biggest problem that, especially within the schools, when we talk about trans, is that schools and teachers are allowed to teach your children trans ideologies, which you may or may not agree with, but you're not allowed to pray. So, and they said you can't pray in school because you're indoctrinating our kids. Fine, fair. If you're going to remove prayer, remove fringe sexual ideas. That's the way it should be. How are you going to say you can talk about these fringe sexual ideas that I don't agree with? You're allowed to talk about these in school, but you're not allowed to pray because that's indoctrination. It doesn't make any sense. Either allow both or remove both. At least have some sort of consistency so that you're not pushing one agenda over another, and let the better idea and let the debate ensue. They don't want debate. They don't want people discussing these ideas. They don't want people thinking for themselves. They want to say, hey, this extreme left fringe idea is the new norm. You have to believe it. And anyone that questions our way of thinking and the new ideologies that we're trying to push, if you question it, you're a bad person. You hate gays. You're a racist. You're a misogynist. They have so many isms that they throw in your face, and all you want to do is, wait, no, like, I don't agree. Why do I have to agree? I don't want to agree.
I think you said it earlier that they're trying to break up the family. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's they're taking rights away from the parents, which is their own children. Now, I know that there's probably some parents that don't understand certain things, but I've always been, you said your daughter's very young. I let my daughter believe in Santa Claus. Even when she already knew and didn't want to tell me, I still kept it alive. I wanted her to be a child as long as possible, because then from that point on, the thrill is gone. And this is what they're doing to these kids. They're shoving sexuality down these kids. It's like, they don't need to be knowing. If they talk about it amongst themselves, that's kid talk. We all did. But formally, and then drag queens, and then I'm not saying you want to be a drag queen, you want to be a trans, whatever, but you don't have to shove it in people's faces. It's not that big of a deal to making kids think like, well, maybe I should be one. They're sponges. They don't know any better.
The role of education is to teach you basic life skills that you can use in your future. Teach them math, teach them English, teach them reading comprehension. They can't do the basic core fundamentals of education properly. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be teaching ideas outside of that. Do that well first. Do your actual job well first. And if you were successful at that, at least maybe I'd be willing to have a conversation, right? You can't do what you're hired to do. You can't do what your establishment exists to do properly, but yet you want to teach ideas outside of your core. How does that make any sense?
Nothing makes sense anymore. That's the problem. Again, I swear my life mantra now is common sense. It just, again, some people these teachers are conforming to this. And this is what's so sad. Now, you do have those the liberal teachers, the ones that believe, like the professors in all these colleges. This blows my mind on how you spend all this money to raise your child to grow up to be a friggin' idiot. I mean, I know tons of educated people that are friggin' idiots. Just because they have an education doesn't mean they're well-rounded.
It's a problem with institutions. Institutions are your new god. Media is your new god. Government is your new god. They don't want you to have your god within family. They don't want to have it within religion, within actual God. They want the institutions, government, media to be your gods. They decide what you think, how you act, what you believe, and anything outside of that is now the enemy. I really believe that we're in a war of good versus evil. I think that's just where we are now.
You mentioned that one side gets to scream and show their opinions, and the conservative side or whatever doesn't get to scream. I think the most people who with the common sense are just they just want to live their lives. That's the whole thing. It's like they don't need to be screaming. We're just doing what we do. But again, we're falling on deaf ears. I mean, because we don't want to scream, but there comes up, and then there's a ton of people that are thinking what we're talking about, but won't say anything because they don't want to start trouble. And I think that's a sin, because we're in trouble and everybody needs to speak so we can knock this shit out.
And I think that's what I try to encourage people to do, which is speak about these issues that you're thinking about, even if it means that people may not agree with you. Because the point is to have discussion, to get these ideas out there. And the reality is, if you're scared that you're going to get canceled by a tech platform, if you're scared that you're going to get fired from your job, for example, if everyone starts speaking out and everyone starts talking about these issues, they can't cancel everybody. They can't fire everyone. Who's going to consume their technology? Who's going to do their jobs? It's because so few people do it. If anything, more people need to do it, because more people do it. You can't cancel everyone. It's just not possible. What are you going to do? You're going to cancel everyone on all the major platforms that questions? If everyone started questioning, you can't cancel everybody. Their stock prices would drop. No one would do it. Their advertising would drop. Their viewership and their usership would drop. The best way to combat it is to keep on talking and have conversations publicly that they tell you can't have. Because once enough people do it, they have to allow it. They can't cancel everyone. They just physically cannot do it.
Look what happened with the cops and all the firemen and first responders and nurses and everything. If you didn't get the old stick in the arm, they were firing you. And then all of a sudden they didn't have enough. And they still now, a lot of them is just ruined between the crime and who the hell wants to go through all that. And now we don't have enough.
But then now we have cities trying to convince people to come back and offering back pay. So there is a movement of, okay, we really messed that up. We need to pay these people because we really need them back now.
Yeah. The military too.
Need to do it.
The military. We lost a lot of people that got, discharged, and what a mistake. But then again, they don't care. I mean, look at our military now. We're more worried about, trans ideology. I mean, diversity, breaking a fingernail while you're loading the bullet into the gun. What are you going to do? Let's can we talk about the border?
Of course.
Because right now, being that there's all these protests for Palestine and all this kind of stuff, I just feel like the border, nobody's talking about it, and yet that shit is going on as heavily as it ever was. It's just not being talked about. I mean, it drives me absolutely crazy. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, because everybody's going to feel this, the ripple effect of this, but yet it's still going on, and there's nobody caring about it, because it hasn't affected them yet, unless you're in the border towns and things like that. And here we are in this position. Crime, everything.
I hate the border crisis so much. And the reason I hate it so much is because there's actually no solution to it. There's nothing you can do about the crisis that's already been created. It's gone to a point that's so far gone that there is no logical way to fix the problem. It just doesn't exist. Maybe you fix a problem by closing the border. The president came out and said, we're not going to let people in anymore. People on the way here be like, all right, I don't think they're letting us in. Maybe we don't have to make this last 200-mile trip walking. Maybe we'll turn back. People will stop coming from other countries because we're not being let in. That solves the problem of the continued problem of people coming in. That solves that problem. It does not solve the problem of what do you do about 20 million people that are now here. That's really the problem that people need to address, because the reality of politics is that neither side has any incentive currently to close the border. But if they wanted to close it, they could close it in a day. We're not letting you in. Go home. Done. Over. What do you do about the 20 million people that are currently here in the country illegally? What do you do with those people? That's actually the bigger problem that no one ever wants to discuss. And people don't discuss it because there's actually no solution. What do you do with 20 million people that are here? You gonna round them up?
Well, that's what Trump says. He's going to do the biggest deportation. It's like, great. How are you going to find them all?
How is that even possible? I mean, it's a great thing to say, but the reality is, how do you do it?
I know he'll do some, but the thing is, you got cartels. They're establishing deeper the drug cartels and the sex trafficking and all that. They're in every single state deep, and they're rooting in. How are you going to find these people? I mean, their job is to not be found.
And again, how do you even try to find them? In order to find, say, rough estimate, say you want to deport 10 million people. The most people that have ever been deported in the United States is 700,000 people. So now you're talking 10 million people. If you took that 700,000 and you doubled it, which would be a pretty big effort, 1.5 million people, you would still have more people at the end of the 10 years than you did when you started, right? Okay. Yeah. So now you have a problem there. You can't physically deport people with the current existing infrastructure. Then what do? Well, we need to round up 10 million people. We probably need to create another government agency. We need to have a armed federal government agency domestically that is rounding people up. Okay, what does that look like? I don't know, 50,000, 70,000 people? Okay, so now you want 70,000 armed troops controlled by the federal government domestically, knocking on door to door, checking papers, checking IDs to find the people that need to leave. That's a mess. Say they gather all 10 million people and they get rid of them. In what world does the federal government ever say, do you know what? We're done with our job. I know we have 50,000, maybe by that time it's 100,000. Now I know we have 100,000 domestic armed military within our borders. Do you know what? I think we're going to disband them. It's never happened. They never disband agencies. Okay, so now you have 100,000 people, armed, federal, reporting to the president or federal office. They are used to going door to door, checking people's IDs, and you find 10 million people. Where do you put them before they leave? Where do you put them before you process them? You're going to create concentration camps, encampments? Are you going to create holding centers for that many people? Do you know how many people that is?
I was looking at the money. I'm going, well, then again, the money they're giving away that we don't have, that we could have solved our homelessness in this country, 3 times, 10 times fold. But, now they're all getting cut off on money too. They brought them all in here and they're raising hell about it. It's like, there's going to be problems when people don't have money, especially in the countries they come from. It goes to theft, crime. It's just that simple. And they don't care. They don't care.
You should be so mad at the current administration for the problem that they created, because they created a problem that actually has no solution. They've created a problem that's creating permanent damage to this country that will be in reciprocal for the next 3, 4, 5, 10 generations. They've created a problem so big that has no logical solution other than the government creates more control and more military, and they're able to look more into your lives. That's the only actual logical solution to this, is that the government needs to expand in order to do it, meaning there's going to be more taxes. They're going to have to spend more of your federal money. They have to do more building. They're going to get extremely rich on the process of doing it. And they've created this problem specifically knowing all that would be true. You should be so upset with the current administration for allowing it to happen, and not even just allowing it to happen, most likely plan for it to happen.
It's really sad. And again, all these people come in that are in, all they know is they love Joe Biden. That's all, and that's all they know. And Joe Biden's good, Trump bad, because he's going to be the antichrist to seek them out and try to send them back home. And and God knows they're probably having kids already, and and things like that. But there's a lot of bad stuff that's coming through these borders. A lot of bad stuff. I mean, the cartels, I say, are the best run organization, in these two continents, or three, we're counting, North America and South America, so too. But I don't know how they're going to ever revert this, but there's a lot of agencies that need to be disbanded, 3-letter agencies that I'm hoping that they're going to restructure here soon if things go correctly. But again, I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
I think we are in a place in our society where we need possibly a third party. And I don't think it's for this election because it's too soon. I think you need Trump to win this election because you need a stopgap to what's been going on over the last 4 years and the craziness that's ensued. I think we do need a third party moving forward because right now the left is ridiculously corrupt. The right is just as corrupt. And right now there's no control group to show the level of corruption. If you take a corrupt group and you take another corrupt group and you compare them to each other, they actually don't seem that corrupt because both sides are corrupt. If you were to inject a fair, genuine, honest party or group of people that actually cares about the ideas and lives of the populace and the population of America, if you're able to include this control group, what would happen is that both sides would look more corrupt because now you're exposing them. You have something to compare it to. Right now, we have nothing to compare it to. You compare the left and the right, and the people on the left say, no, the right's bad. And the people on the right say, no, the left is bad. The reality is they're both bad. And because you're only comparing them to each other, they both don't seem that bad. But the reality is they're really bad.
There's a lot of two-faced people, even on the Republican side. See, look, I grew up, I was originally born in New Haven, Connecticut. And that, my parents grew up being Democrats. They came from Greece. I'm Greek. And they came, over from Staten Island back in the day in the 50s. And, it was a different time. And that's what I knew. Democrat, you're being taught, just like we were talking about the whole time. If that's what you're taught, that's what you do. But I know people now that because they're Democrats, and I don't care Democrat, Republican, I really don't care. But because they're Democrats, regardless of how badly it's sucking, they're going to pull that Democrat lever because we're Democrats. And I hated Republicans. I really wasn't that fond of Republicans in the Bush era and all those kind of years. But it just seems like the Republican give the impression now that they're more logical as they're the Democrats, and the Democrats are just off the scale. I don't know what the hell they're thinking anymore, but they are no it's not the policies they once at least tried to, impose and show that they are. And I'm just sick of it all. And then you got some of these Republicans that are just, your Lindsey Graham's and what's the turkey neck? What the fuck's his name? I'm just sick of them all. I'm sick of them. Yeah. And then you got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene that people call her a loudmouth and this and that. But I think there's a few people that just can't stand the bullshit. And and I'm not saying I'm a big fan of hers, but or some of these people, but there are some that want to try to keep that balance, to do what's right. And then Mike Johnson, he came out looking like he was going to be this Bible guy and what right and wrong, and he just blew my mind when he signed over all that money just recently, a few weeks ago.
It's the worst.
That's what I'm saying. They say one thing and they vote another, and then nobody sees it because they did it at 2:00 in the morning on a Sunday night. Kills me. That's the shit that drives me crazy. I'm going, they all got to go. They all got to go. And Trump is a bulldozer, and he may plow that trail for some new beginnings, I hope. But yet, I'm going to be catching a bunch of shit from the people that go, screw you, you're an idiot, Trump sucks. I don't care. I just want us to have a decent life again.
Yeah, I remember when I first, I got to see Marjorie Taylor Greene when they were doing a Trump rally in Rome, Georgia. And that is the district in which Marjorie Taylor Greene represents.
Oh, that's right. She's in your area.
Yeah,
right?
She's not too far from me. But yeah, she was in that district and there was a Trump rally there. And I went. And before that, I wasn't a huge Marjorie Taylor Greene fan because I thought that she was kind of polarizing. I thought she was maybe doing things and saying things just for the purpose of being an agitator. and that maybe it wasn't overly effective. That's what I thought. I didn't really like a lot of the way that she presented herself, and I understood why people didn't. And then I was at this rally, and Marjorie Taylor Greene walked out, and that stadium of people who are her constituents are the people that voted for her, the people that she represents. When she walked out, that place erupted. Wild. People were chanting MTG, MTG. and it hit me. And I realized, isn't that what you want? It doesn't matter how I feel about her if she doesn't represent me. She represents her district, and the people in her district absolutely love her. The people in her district, to them, she is doing exactly what they put her there to do, to stir things up, to throw some grenades, to be an agitator, to say things that are really polarizing. That's what they wanted her to do, and that's what she's doing. The role of the Congress is, and a congressperson, is to represent the district and represent the constituents that voted for you, not to represent everybody, not to represent other countries, not to represent issues that actually don't affect the people that voted for you. Your job and your role is to represent the people where you're from, where you live, and speak on their behalf. That's your job. And when I saw that, and they actually love her. They actually like her. And then I would think about people like Lindsey Graham or other politicians out there. When they go home, it's not the same sentiment. The people there don't think, oh, he's out there representing us, voting on our behalf, saying things that we want to say. I think she's a rare breed of people, of a congressperson actually doing what the people want her to do.
Okay. But if that being said, then what about friggin' AOC and her district? I mean, is she doing what the people want? Wants to be an asshole, a troublemaker?
We've seen plenty of videos of her in her own district where the people in her district don't overly support her. So maybe a little bit different.
She won.
But if that is what they want, that is their job. That's how this works. You need people. It's not about ideas I don't agree with, because it's impossible to have everyone agree on every idea.
True.
It's about having people in place that are speaking on behalf of the people. If there is a group, maybe in AOC's district, that want to spend all their tax dollars on green energy, and that's really what they want, her job is to represent what that group wants. You may not agree, I may not agree, but that's her job, to represent the views and ideologies of the people that voted for her. And not even necessarily voted for her, but she represents in that district. That's how Congress works. That's how the government's supposed to work. They're supposed to serve the interests of the people they represent. The problem is that the Congress and the politicians represent the interests of what they want, what their donors want, what their lobbyists want, and their lobbyists don't live or consider any of the things that happen in upstate New York, where AOC represents. Congress should be representing the people that they're supposed to represent, which is the people. And I think that's the biggest separation right now.
I just hate it. Again, I think the difference between AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene is Marjorie Taylor Greene's is to me, in my opinion, she's enough of this bullshit. You guys are, this is bullshit. And AOC is, let me create more bullshit. She has not had one single bill ever passed that she has come up with, ever. And I thought she was going to lose this last time around, because I saw her in her little town halls and people booing her and stuff like that. I go, she's out. And yet there she is again with that, I don't know how she's got a fiance, or fiance or married. It's like, I pity the poor fool. I pity the poor fool. Having to be married to that, it's like, God bless you. You're either brain dead or having to live with that shit every day. It's like, good
super patient man.
Oh, it's either that or a mere shell of a man. That's all I can.
Probably the latter.
Yeah. Anyway, I just hate it. McConnell, all these career politicians, they're all rich, and I've got video right in front of me of Lindsey Graham several years ago gloating on how fine a man Joe Biden is. He's one of the finest men he knows, and now he's kissing Trump's ass. It's just, I just don't like it. And,
They're just so slimy. They're only out for their own better interest. They don't
Yeah.
care about the population. They don't care about the people they represent. And if at its core, if the people we elect to go to Congress to speak and make laws and legislate on our behalf, if they just did their jobs of what they're supposed to do, which again represent us, we wouldn't be in the place that we are. I think that's the core issue of it all. They represent other interests. They represent interests they care about. They represent the interests of other countries, obviously. And they just don't care about you. Congress hates you.
that's so reassuring and warm feeling. Yeah. But again, this is our country. Here we are. And these are they're not our leaders. They're our managers, as Tim Kramer. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Kramer says, he was on the show a few months ago. I love him too, because he doesn't take any bullshit. And he, they're our managers, but they have forgotten, and they've become our leaders, and it sucks. And it sucks really bad.
They're supposed to be public servants.
Yeah, they forgot.
But they want to be your God. That's really what it is. They all have a God complex. They think they know better than you. They think they know your life better than you. They think they know your future better than you. They think they know the decisions you need to make before you make them, and they want to guide you to what they want. They're playing God. They're playing God with your lives.
I think for a lot of people, there are a lot of people that need, again, that you're right, need to be steered and just, but they're not making decisions either for that either. I mean, they're lining their own pockets. It's just, I've never seen so many people so rich, so many insider stock tips over the past 4 years. It just blows my mind, and nobody's going to jail for it. I thought my parents told me when I was growing up that if you were in government office, you had to relinquish your personal businesses and all that kind of stuff, so it wouldn't interfere with this. But apparently, I guess that's not true.
No, apparently you can do whatever you want at this point if you're in government. Yeah. As long as you're a congressperson, you can pretty much have a free pass in everything in life now. Which is why they never give up the power. They never leave office, because it's a really cush place to be.
I thought McConnell was going to finally, croak out or something, but because he's been in, and it's like, who votes for him to keep him in there? I don't even recall any type of race with that he's in. I don't understand how that works with him. He's just there. It's like no questioning. He's just there until he decides to not be there anymore. I thought he was definitely going to be down for the count, and somehow miraculously he's still in the running. He must be on the same juice that Biden's on. Periodically. I want to shift gears again. Still staying in the same area, but we're going to go back to Trump real quick. This will be the last time we talk about him. But they have spent years and countless of millions of dollars trying to pin shit on him. This is what kills me with the people that believe that he's such a crook. Now, I know people that say, look, man, I grew up in New York. He's a shyster and this and that. Everybody's a shyster. I mean, it's business. Everybody. I dare say that anybody who does their taxes cannot look me in the eye and say they never pushed it to try to get the most out of their taxes and things like that. It's just the way it is. But they have spent millions putting him on, the Russia collusion, the this, the that. And yet here we are 8 years later, and still not one single thing has been pinned on him. But yet we're going back to the people who just hate his guts. I mean, how do they not see this? I mean, they think he's that talented and that slick that if all these things were on him, he's the Teflon Don, nothing sticks.
Well, I think we're starting to see that it was a huge mistake, because going after him is actually just making him more popular. I think people are so fed up with establishment and the current system in place that the more they go after Trump, it really feels like they're going after you. And I think people are coming to that realization. So I think we'll see a lot of these court cases kind of die out. I think that's why they kind of shelved the one in Florida. That's why they're trying to shelve the one in Georgia, because it's not working. And they're in a really tough spot. If they don't win any of these cases, it's going to look so obvious that it was political weaponization. If they stop, then it's going to show that they had nothing on him. If they keep on going, it just makes him more popular. So I think they just shot themselves in the foot on that one. I think they thought it would work. I think they thought it would be like how the populace reacted to things like this 10 years ago, not realizing how frustrated people are with the establishment and what's going on in the world. I think that's something that they miscalculated. There is a huge distrust in establishment, huge distrust in government. And I think they underestimated how big of a distrust there is.
How do you put it? I still say the people that hate him, no matter how it turns out, are going to say, well, that's because he's so corrupt that he's able to get away with it all. And nobody can get away with all these governments, agencies, all these people after him, and nothing. He's a lot smarter and a lot cleaner than you think, and he knows to keep it that way. I truly believe if he gets into office this time, he learned a lot from the last round that I think he's going to be way better and way more cut to the chase and intelligent, because he knows what's going on now. Because, it's a lot different from being a businessman, getting into politics, and then learning who to trust, who not to trust. Even the COVID thing, he's got advisors. He doesn't know all this shit. They tell him he's trusting them. They're his advisors, but they were shitty advisors. There's a lot of those, and people you can't trust. I think it's going to be a different ball game this time around, but I'm just feeling like no matter what you do, and he comes out clean as a whistle, the haters are still going to hate because they are so personal about this whole thing.
And you expect that. I mean, isn't that what has to happen? You can't have someone, you'll never have a president which everybody loves. You're always going to have the other side. Even if I grew up in Cleveland, and so we were big Browns fans. We all love the Cleveland Browns because I'm from Cleveland. We all had that one guy in the friend group that was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan just because he wanted to be that guy. That's a part of life. That's how society works, right? Everyone loves your favorite sports team, your home team, and you always got that friend that's rooting for the other side. It's just the way it is. It's fine. I think that's okay. I don't think you try to convince everyone. You just have to motivate your side of people that agree with you to go out and make change and make a difference and vote. I think that's more important than trying to convince everybody that they're wrong.
Yeah, you're correct. I guess my point now that I'm listening to you, because again, even I listen to you because you're so soothing. But I just don't want the division. I just hope that the people, because I'm telling you, I got these people. I remember there's one woman that I've known that's out here in California, and she was watching something that I did, and she says, Peter, if your daughter would hear what you're saying, and my daughter is in total agreement, and I did not influence her and program her. She's her own mattkim free thinker. I got really lucky with this one. She's done her own observations, and she's got a grip on the picture. And I didn't answer her. I just leave it alone because I don't want to start shit with people that I love. And I didn't want to tell her. I said, my daughter's on the same page, and it wasn't me that told her. In fact, half of her, because my ex-wife had 2 children and previous, so she's got 2 half sisters, and they're divided in those, ways of thinking. But I just want everybody to like, okay, that's the way it goes. We don't all have to agree on everything. Saw Bill Maher last night, and he was saying like, but there's a couple things we don't agree on, but there's 90 things we do. We never used to have to talk about this stuff years ago. That's why there was never these problems. But I just want everybody, again, love, man. The biggest thing that I think this world is lacking nowadays, love.
And
it's hard.
A good economy solves a lot of social problems.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
it does
helps.
a lot of healing.
It helps.
If Trump comes back and the economy is good, people, as much as the media tries to divide you, people are going to be like, we're okay. Like, we're making money. We're fine. People actually become very apathetic to the political system when times are good. I think if the Biden administration, if they wanted to push some of these crazy woke ideologies that they're trying to shove down your throat, they'd be much more effective if the economy was at least good. If people had money in their pockets, cost of living wasn't out of control, cost of housing wasn't out of control, if people had expendable income, and they're like, well, but we think guys should compete in women's sports. If the economy was good, a lot of guys be like, yeah, whatever, fine. Right? At least I don't have to worry about it. You can't have a crap economy and try to change the way people live their lives at the same exact time. That's a recipe for disaster. At least make people feel comfortable in their normal lives. At least have people money in their pocket, and then be like, oh yeah, I think we're gonna hire a trans person to run the military. And a lot of people are like, well, times are good, we make money. Like, I don't really care that much. You can't have people frustrated with the economy, feeling at wit's end, and then try to change the way they think. It's too much. They tried to do too much at one time. I think that was a huge calculator error.
Well, look, I don't know how much gas is in Atlanta, but fuel over here still is over $5 at Costco for regular gasoline. It's over $5 a gallon. Some places it's $7 and something cents a gallon. Okay. The one thing we had going, I think, right now is that we were able to compare for the first time two presidents who actually sat in office. And you're going to tell me that we're okay right now. This is what blows my mind. It's like, as opposed to 5 years ago or whatever. And then he goes on, he just got through. They're catching him on all these lies saying he inherited 9% inflation, which it was 1.5 or whatever the hell it was. It's like, but people believe this shit. And that's the problem I'm having with this whole deal. It's like, there's no, like, how quickly we forget. So there is no good economy where there is no money in people's pockets. And yeah, money breaks up families, struggling. And that's a big deal. But what do I know? Here's what I want to do. One big thing and then one little thing, and then we're out of here. The climate change scam. To me, I've mentioned climate change to some people and they go, what are you talking about? Of course we got climate change. Look at all the shit they're spewing in the air and this and that. I go, it's not about that. I'm talking about all the money we're spending on climate change going to all these businesses and corporations and that are doing bullshit things that never end up working and then end up disappearing. And all that money is gone and there's no solution. Even from Obama, he started all this crap. What's your take on all this?
I care about the environment. I think we should care about the environment. I really love nature. I think it is the most beautiful thing in the world, and we should protect it. I think protecting the environment and protecting nature around you is different than this climate change agenda, which is obviously money driven. If anything, tell people to stop littering. I remember I was going to Costco yesterday and some guy was going to his parking spot and he's going to his parking spot. He's going to walk into Costco. There's a big trash can in front of Costco. Why are you throwing trash out your window into the parking lot while you're parking? It doesn't make any sense. It's the little things that people do. I think that we should concentrate on more. Stop throwing soda cans and beer cans into the forest. Once you start doing smaller things, then the bigger things kind of grow on top of it. I think we've gone away from doing the basic things that protect our environment, and we try to make it this huge political thing, and we try to pump a bunch of billions of dollars in it, and you create agencies around it, and it's another form of DEI, and the ozone is failing, the world's going to end. It's global warming, the world's going to end. The tides are rising, the world's going to end. World's not ending. We're okay. Let's just do the basic necessities of our life to improve the environment around us. And if everyone just did their part, and if we held maybe some of the bigger companies dumping needlessly into the oceans, dumping needlessly into landfills, let's just have people do the basic necessities of life first. And then we can talk about a bigger solution. We don't do the small things anymore. The common sense solutions, we ignore those completely. And we think that big government is going to solve the problem. Never in the history of the world has big government solved the problem.
You talked about littering and things like that. I truly believe, back down to, we didn't even talk about this, but again, there's so many different problems. Parenting, that's where we lost a lot of the core and all these shootings in Detroit and Chicago's and all that. It's parenting, and I know that life is difficult. Most people have to work, both parents nowadays. When I grew up, my mother worked part-time, but she was home a lot, and things like that. But parenting. And when I first started this show, it was called the Jim and Peter Show. And when we were starting to try to film, or we were really just feeling it out, we were at a park because we would drop our kids off at school. That's where we met. We met at kindergarten, our kids, and then we talked about it for years. But when we finally started, after we dropped the kids off, then we'd go and do something while the kids were in school, and then go pick them up, and then get back to our days. He had a piece of trash, and we're in this park, and he threw it like about 10 feet to a garbage can, and it missed, and it went on the ground, and he ignored it. And in my head, I'm going, aren't you going to pick that up? And that started me. Well, to make a long story short, it's the Peter G Show now. It was just one small example of like who you are as a person and what you do. But never mind even the climate, and spewing with chemicals and this and that. We have people in our government that are getting all this funding, the lobbyists, and they're funding this money and going, okay, we're going to, I'm going to give you that money. And they're getting rich on their companies and corporations and climate change, solutions and schemes that don't ever work. And then they just go away. There's not even anybody doing anything what's the last innovation in the past 20 years on climate change besides windmills that don't work and all this bullshit and, and solar farms that don't really work?
Paper straws.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was their big idea. Plastic's killing the environment. Let's go to paper straws while it sticks to your lip and you're drinking. Why don't we just throw the paper straws into? How much damage is a straw really doing? Just throw it out. Stop dumping it in the ocean. It's a better solution.
They show it in the turtle's nose. The straw in the turtles and the sea turtle's nose. Again, they banned plastic straws here in California. I don't know about Georgia, but all of a sudden they went away and the plastic came back. They banned regular, like the thin plastic grocery bags, like the real cheap ones, for free. Now you have to buy these thick plastic bags, so now we're just throwing away the big, because everybody forgets and they keep on buying all these bags. You forget to bring them with you. It's just, there's no real, these aren't solutions. These are just like, again, somebody's making money, and it just drives me crazy. But yet you talk to some of these crazy people. I love when they show Plymouth Rock from 100 years ago, and the water level. I just recently been seeing this stuff in Staten Island. The water level is the same, if not lower. Then there's no water rising. Obama would not own all these waterfront properties if we were sinking into the ocean. It just wouldn't be that way.
I think we just need to stop trusting and looking for the government to solve our problems. I think we need to stop looking for big corporations to solve our problems. I think we just need to be more internal about the things that matter around us. And if everyone just paid more attention to their own immediate environments and treated everything around them with just a little bit more love and care, I think that would solve a lot of the problems that we have. We just expect big government to solve all our problems and make decisions for us. And the reality is that we have power to do it ourselves.
I think people have gotten numb and lazy. They just got complacent. I guess that'd be the word. And it just, I don't know what to think anymore. I'm tired of it. That's why I got into this portion of I can do any type of show. I can do funny. I can do anything. But this is so important to me because I'm sick of it. It's like enough is enough. It's the fantasy that they are trying to drop on everybody and this bullshit. It's just, I'm going, I can't be the only, I'm high, but I'm not that high. It's just crazy. So I've just had enough of it. And then I find people like you, and I go, you know what? Maybe you can convey the message to my audience because it's so damn important because, again, of our children and just life. Well, I want to live to be a ripe old age if I can help it. And, and nobody wants to struggle. The biggest fear of all these people is getting old. and not having nothing. You're living on Social Security maybe, and it's not enough. There's nothing to go around, and now they're stealing from it. And I've been hearing that's going to run out since I was in 5th grade. Still hasn't, but it's not right. I'm just sick of it. Enough is enough.
I think we just need to go back to a simpler life. I think that's a lot of it too. Spend more time with your family, spend more time with your kids, spend more time with your parents, your grandparents, your grandkids, whoever it is. At the end of the day, I've never met someone that's aging older and they say, damn, I spent too much time with my kids. Nobody ever says that. Every person, no matter what level of success you reach, the only regret that they have is, I wish I would have spent more time. That's everybody. Why wait till later? My daughter is very young and I make a concerted effort. Saturdays, I don't work at all on Saturdays, no matter what. I don't care who it is. I don't care what the meeting is. I don't do meetings on Saturdays because I spend time with my daughter, no matter what. Every day, I make an effort to spend at least 3 hours with my daughter. Like, not 3 hours of being in the same room, like 3 attentive hours. And those are very different. A lot of parents think that, oh, we're in the same room and I'm watching football and they're watching their iPad, so we're spending time together. No. 3 attentive hours makes a huge difference in your child's growth, in their behavior, in their trust and understanding. So I try to do the little things that seem so obvious, but a lot of people don't do anymore. My daughter has no screen time. We don't give her technology. She understands what it is. She knows what my phone is. We get to FaceTime grandma, but there's no mindless sitting there watching TV. You can play with your books, you can play with your toys, or you can talk to dad. And she's only 2. And she'll be, okay, I understand. And we're playing toys. And dad, can we do this? Amazing. Let's do that. But you're not going to sit there and just aimlessly stare at a TV screen. Like, no way. Impossible. And that means I got to spend more time. It means my wife needs to spend more time. It means we need to make sacrifices, because spending, especially for my wife, to spend 12 or 14 hours a day, all day long, with no help of technology, it's definitely the road less traveled.
Nowadays, and I don't think there's any way to go back from it, but I truly believe you get what you put into that child. I mean, I've sacrificed. I rather make less money. Well, now she's 18 now, and I still jump when I have the opportunities in the mornings or in the evenings, because unfortunately, like I said, I'm divorced, but she's around and me a lot, and I make every effort. I'm there for my own self because I'm just crazy about her, but I do truly believe it made a difference. I'm not going to take credit for like who she is. She's who she is, but you get what you put into it, and that's obvious. Like, you could let a kid sit in the corner, he doesn't learn nothing, they know nothing. You know what I mean? You got to put in the time, and money doesn't. That's something that money. And again, if you don't know, I guess you won't miss it if you don't know. But I knew, and I'm telling you, it's like I love every second I can get, and I'll probably be like that till I die. I just enjoy,
I think it's our role as parents not to be teachers and educators, but to be models. So if we live the life and the type of life that you want your children to live later, if you want your children to be focused on only work and only career and don't care about family, live that way, because that's what they're going to do. If you want your children to be family oriented, family first, family, then you need to live that way also. You can't make excuses of, oh, but it's like really good for my career, or I'm busy, or I'm doing this for the benefit of the family, which is why I'm working. No, actually, you're hurting your family by abandoning and leaving your family for work and other things in pursuit of a career. Because the reality is, you never get that time back. You know that. Every parent knows that.
Yeah,
every day that you're with your child, it's the youngest they'll ever be. You never go backwards. You never get that time back. It's impossible. So make the most of the time you have, maximize the time you spend together, and be attentive. I remember Father's Day last year. I was at the golf course bar, and my daughter went down for her second nap, and I went to the golf course for like an hour. And I saw 2 groups of people there that day. There was the young dads celebrating because it's Father's Day. We get to hang out, we get to party because it's our day. Finally, this is Daddy's day. We're going to get really drunk. We're going to go play golf. That's one side.
Right.
The other side of the bar were the older generation, and they were all getting drunk because they were all sad. Their children decided to not spend Father's Day with them, and they're upset and they can't figure out why. Where do we mess up that our kids don't want to spend Father's Day with us? Well, let me tell you, look at the other side of the room. On Father's Day, you said it was your day, and you decided that you're going to leave your kids behind and go to the bar and get drunk. What you did was you taught them that that's what you do on Father's Day. You don't spend it with your father. What you should have done when you were young is on Father's Day, spend time with your children. Because when you're older, when you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s, your kids are going to be like, hey, it's Father's Day. Let me go spend time with dad.
Or they're busy with their own
Create the
lives.
situation. You see the circle. And I thought that was really telling. And ever since then, I'm like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to live in a life of regret where I didn't spend time with my daughter now. And therefore, when she's older and I'm older, she doesn't want to spend time with me.
You just told the exact story. Again, my ex-wife had 2 other girls. And when the youngest of the 2 was 8 years old, they had a father, same father, and he was a golf fanatic. And he loved to go get buzzed and play golf. That was his thing. It was Father's Day. And this 8-year-old little girl was waiting for her father all day long to come because he was supposed to come and pick her up because it's Father's Day. She wanted to spend Father's Day with him. And this piece of shit did not show up. I had to deal with lots of this stuff when they were young. You know, I had to make the Easter baskets and not I had to, I wanted to. But he never showed up. And I watched her face the whole day. She's waiting. And that was the exact same story. He was busy playing golf, getting drunk with his buddies. He's probably a great guy hanging around with the guys, but he was a lousy father. And, you know, kids are resilient too, to a certain respect. I mean, the problem is even when fathers or parents screw up, they're still their parent and they long for that love and they let a lot of stuff slide. They may not forget it, but they'll put it to the side. But it's just that kind is the kind of shit. I was never that guy. And I'd never, because when you have a kid, you got one now. This your first child?
Yes.
It changes a lot of things, doesn't it? Not complaining, but I was 43 years old when I had my first baby, my only one. And I'm thinking, what the hell? My life is pretty, I got a good grip on my life. What's going to change? The minute she came out, everything changed. Your focus goes to that baby 24/7, 24/7. I said 24/7, 7 days a week. And some guy commented, he goes, "That you're being redundant." It's like, excuse the fuck out of me. Sorry. I mean,
Thanks, guy.
Yeah. He goes, well, now I see what kind of a guy you are. I go, no, you missed my whole point. And you're critiquing on my phrasing. But the bottom line is that child needs everything. And again, to this day, still, I adore her. I love being her father. Maybe because I got a good one that's not driving me crazy. But
you have a good one because you loved being a father.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. If more people loved being fathers, especially men, if you loved being fathers, if you loved spending time with your children, they're going to turn out pretty good. They're going to turn out pretty rational. They're going to learn to trust you, respect you. And if there's a problem in their life, they're going to come to you. If you become an absentee dad and you ignore them, what do you expect they would do when they have a problem? They're not going to come to you. You've never taught them that you're going to be there. Why would they come to you when things are difficult? They're going to go with their friends. They're going to go to other outside influences. They're going to turn to the internet. They're going to turn to social media. They're going to get their information from places that they don't need to get it because you showed them that you're not there for them anyway. So I think about all the time. How do I become a more attentive father? And how do I make sure that she knows no matter what happens, she can always come to me?
I think you either got it or you don't. I mean, I know there's lots of people. Look, I met a lot of people that go, listen, I had to work, and I get that. You got to provide. But I also heard them say, yeah, I missed a lot of things, and you don't really know as badly as you know that you missed. You missed it, but I treasure every second of all those little things. I used to be lucky. I was around during the week and I'd volunteer at school and the teachers would go, God, that's really great. You can be here. We don't have many dads that come in because they're all working. Well, I worked. I was just able to not work when something went on. And I treasure every minute of being that guy and not trying to show off or anything. I just loved it. I love kids. I love their innocence.
I
they could be.
think I have to work is a really poor excuse because unless you're working 120 hours a week and you're doing 3 full-time jobs to make ends meet. If that's the case, I get it. There's nothing you can do. If you work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and you have time to watch Sunday night football and you have time to watch Monday night football and you have time to watch Thursday night football, you have time to play with your kids. If you have time to go home and the first thing you do is you go in the garage and crack a beer, you have time to spend it with your kids. If you have time to go out and play a round of golf with your buddies or whatever, work on your car or whatever hobby that you have, if you have time to do that, you have time to play with your kids. If your life is literally 120 hours a week of work, 7 days a week, and you don't have time, there's a conversation there. If you're not that guy working 120 hours a week, 7 days a week, you had time. It's such an excuse. It's such a cop-out to think that your football game was more important, that NFL playoffs were more important, that the NBA playoffs were more important. They're not. They're just not.
Selfish. I think that's the big deal. You have to give up. You have to give up yourself for quite a while in order to mold that, to be around for that child. And I think a lot of people are selfish. They need their me time, and I think everybody needs a little time, but so do they. They overrule the whole deal. And I don't know. Everybody's different. I don't judge people by the way because they could have had bad upbringings and things like that. I was very fortunate. My parents were pretty normal. I got my ass kicked. I mean, literally beaten when I was, because when I was out of hand, but I turned out okay. I mean, it depends who you ask, but but it's just life. And I think this whole thing, which brings us back to this, is the family unit is so endangered nowadays. And this, I truly believe, is a big part of why we're in this big old mess, because there's no unity and they're working really hard to make it even worse.
I mean, you can see it. They signal it from the presidency and the administration all the time. Joe Biden will come out and say, we're doing this to protect our kids. No, they're not your kids. They're not our kids. They're my kids. They're not your kids. They're not our kids. They're my kids. But they say it all the time. It's our kids. No, they're not our kids. It's my job to raise them. It's my job to indoctrinate them. It's my job to tell them how to think if I choose to do so or what to believe. It's not your job. Definitely not your job. If anybody's job, it's my job. And I think we need to clarify that. They want to take over raising your children. And a lot of parents, well, we're busy, so the government has a free program. Let me just allow them to raise my children anyway. No, I think that's a huge mistake. You raise your kids. They're your kids. The government doesn't care. They don't want to do what's best for them. They don't have their better interest in mind. They just don't. They don't at all. Raise your own kids. That's the only way this works.
We sat in front of the TV a lot when we were little kids. I mean, back in the day, but there was still a lot of parenting that went on, and now and I get it. Life is, it's not the same life. It's just not. But you still the core is still the core, and you got the right idea. And I thank God every day for the amount of time and that I'm that guy too. I have no regrets. And most everybody that knows me, they all know I have a daughter. They all know, how much I care and things like that, because I'm very open about it, because it's really important to me. Yeah, I brought a child into this world, not to just, leave her to fend for herself. It's like, which a lot of people do. It's sad. It's just really sad, but that's life. All right, look, I got one quick thing and then I'll let you go. I appreciate all the time you're giving me, but there's so much that I'm going to leave off the table for, I hope, another time. But I saw, because once I started digging into you, I started seeing what's going on. And to me, it's like, I was just floored. I saw that back in December, you had Tucker Carlson on your show.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap. I mean, that's strong. Although I know lots of people that can't stand him, and that's their problem, but that's strong, dude. That's friggin' awesome. Tell me about that.
Yeah. They just kind of found me one day. I think one of his friends was sharing my content with him. So again, the power of the social share, because you never know where your content's going to get to. So I didn't reach out to them. They didn't. The bookers didn't find me. One of Tucker Carlson's friends started watching my content and said, "Hey, Tucker, my good friend, you should check this guy out." And that's kind of how that happened. And ever since, we've been in a little bit of communication. Hopefully, get on his show sometime soon. But it's really the power of the social share. That's really what that does. Is that if someone watching this shares this video and this content and this channel with their friend, that could send it to another friend, which will eventually circulate throughout the world. And you never know who gets in front of it.
True. But that's, I mean, I look, again, on my Facebook stuff, I know people that can't stand him. They think he's a freaking raging idiot. I beg to differ because I feel they got the blinders on. That's my opinion. The guy's got balls, big ones, and he speaks the truth, but yet you got the opposing side that think he's a fucking idiot. And I'm going, I don't understand what you're thinking. But again, there's the, free will. But there you were. And, what did you guys, I didn't get to sit and listen. I didn't have enough time. But I mean, so how did you end up talking to him? I mean, so he watched you, but he came on your show?
Yeah. So he came on my show. It was right when they were rolling out the Tucker Carlson network. And I don't know how he chose to come on my show. I have to be the absolute smallest show that he did during his 1 week of going to other people's shows. So super grateful that he did that.
Yeah.
I find him incredibly genuine. I find him incredibly honest. I think he really does believe that what he's doing is for the betterment of society and of the country. And I think for myself, as I mentioned very early on, person's intent and whether or not they're genuine is probably the most important thing to me. I may disagree with you, but if you believe what you believe and you honestly believe what you believe, we can have a conversation. And I think he honestly believes what he says. I don't find him fake at all. We've spent a lot of time ever since that interview. And he is exactly in real life how he is on camera. He's the same person. There is no variance of personality, no variance of humor, no variance of his ideas and the way he speaks. He is literally the same exact person on camera and off camera. And I don't think that applies to a lot of people, especially in that space at that level.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking top of the food chain type stuff.
I get it, but I hate that too, because I always say what you see is what you get. I mean, that's all, who else the hell am I gonna be? But there's a lot of phonies out there. But I just think he's just really super knowledgeable. I don't know whether he has segment producers or whatever, but the thing is, he knows a lot of stuff. He's really good at it, and I do believe he's talking, his truth, so to speak, and whether you want to believe him or not, but it's kind of hard not to. But then again, I got these people that go, friggin' Tucker Carlson, he's the biggest friggin', and I'm going, well, please explain it to me. But again, crickets.
Yeah, I think, well, he's unique in that he doesn't consume content. He doesn't consume news. He doesn't even own a TV, which is fascinating.
Get out of here.
I think, nothing. There is no technology in his life other than a couple of friends that he texts with. That's it. So there's no outside influence. His ideas are his ideas. It's something that came across his desk and he thinks about, and then he reports or talks about. I think more people should do that. Actually, that's what I do. I don't watch news at all. I consume almost zero news. I don't consume a lot of content, very rarely. Majority of my time on my phone is if I am doing something like this, or if I'm jumping in maybe a TikTok live or Instagram live, just so I can engage with people. Outside of that, I consume very little technology now. And I think once I started doing that is when you start thinking for yourself, when you start thinking past existing narratives. Sometimes I'll do a post on a story or a trending news topic, and people will say to me, Matt, that's so different than what everyone else said. I didn't know that. I don't watch other people. How am I supposed to know what other people are talking about? It's just you're able to come to your own conclusions once you turn it all off. I think that's something that I've learned from him. That's something that I try to implement into my own life. I don't want outside influence anymore. I think we're in a place where we should be thinking for ourselves. Make your own decision. Again, I don't have to agree with you, but your decision and why you believe what you believe should have been your decision to believe that. not someone telling you you have to believe it. I think once people start deciding matters of their life out of place of love, of care, and because they were free to do so, I think a lot of the conclusions that we come up to will be very similar. Because at the end of the day, people want very similar things out of life. I want to take care of my family, and I want to live my life. That's really all what most people want. They don't want interference from outside sources, outside noise. I want to live my life free, and I want to take care of my family. That's really at the core what 99.9% of the people in the world want. I think the best way to achieve that is just start turning people off. You don't have to listen to so many people online. And if you listen to someone online, the question you must ask yourself is, do I feel like this person is honest and genuine? Doing what I do, I get offers for propaganda all the time. People reach out to you, Matt, can you take this stance? Can you talk about this issue? Can you agree with us here? And we'll pay you a lot of money.
Really?
It happens all the time. And if I tell you all the time, you'd be shocked on how often this happens. If that happens to me, can you imagine what the bigger names are getting? How much money they're getting? I've been offered $10,000 to take a stance on something. Imagine what the bigger names are getting. So you have to ask yourself, and anyone that you consume on a regular basis, do I feel like this person would say no to the money? And if your answer is, well, they could probably take it, just turn them off, because they're not adding value to your life. They're just not. They're just propagandists. And that's for people that you may agree with and disagree with.
I don't know how people live with themselves. I mean, where are you? For example, this dude right here, I don't know how this dude can get up and do a show every day and literally go back home and go to sleep at night, Mr. Him, because of the crap that comes out of that dude's mouth, you know. And then you got this little bitch right here does the same thing right next to it. You know, there's so many of them. It's like, I always knew that I don't care how much money you pay me, you could never get me talking the kind of crap that comes out of those people's mouths. And they got to live with themselves. And I don't know how you do it.
It's mental prostitution. The first few times you're like, oh, do I really want to do this? This is kind of dirty. I don't feel right about it. After you've been through 1,000, you're like, just another day. No big deal. Well, let's do 4 today. You know, it's mental prostitution. That's what they're doing. You get normalized to it, and at first it feels weird, which is why they try to ladder you in. Hey, why don't you talk about this issue? It's something you agree with, and you'll get paid a lot of money. And most people take the money because it's a topic they agree with anyway. Give it a year, give it 2 years. You have no soul. You've sold your soul the minute you start taking it. So that's something I'm very conscious of. And which is why I don't make a video every single day. Why I don't That's why my content isn't as frequent as everybody else. Because there's no way you can care about every single issue that comes across your desk every single day, all day long. It's impossible. And I think that's something that people should consider also. You don't have to care about every single issue they tell you care about. Pick a few that you actually really care about. Learn about those. Do your own research. Understand why you care about it. And some of them that really don't seem to matter that much to your life or you're not that interested in, let it go. You don't have to think about every single issue they throw in your face. You just don't.
I think it's really, really tough. I could never, at least if I did anything that I'd be wrong about, I'd have to realize it later. Like I thought it was a good thing, but it really wasn't a good thing. That'd be like a true mistake. But to consciously make, I just can't. I don't know. Screw them. You know that I couldn't do it.
Man, burn it all down.
Yeah, exactly. One last question. When I see a lot of your short content, and that's another thing. When you're doing that, are you scripted? Are you reading? Because just. Okay, I'm going.
Yeah. So I like to write down my ideas. It keeps me concise because I have a habit of rambling on live.
You're not like me. You just friggin' squirrel. You know.
Well, I think it's because I want it to be concise. I want to get my point out clearly. I think it's easier when I'm able to write it down, and it also helps me think. So if I'm writing down my idea, does this even make sense to me? If it doesn't make sense to me written down, it's not going to make sense to someone reading it or listening to it or watching it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make it as consumable as possible, and I also don't want to ramble on for no purpose.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I do it that way, and it helps me think. So it's multifaceted. Every time I put out a short clip, I'm very conscious of the structure of it. So the first 5 seconds or 3 seconds, it's a hook. How am I going to convince you to watch the other 2 minutes? I have 3 seconds to prove my case, to get you involved. After 3 seconds, I have to provide value. There has to be meat to the video. I have to provide something that makes you think, learn, whatever else, report on. And at the end, there has to be a psychological payoff. Something that makes you stop and go, huh, or make you question, or make you incentivize you to get in the comment section and get involved, or maybe even just make you pause and think, or laugh or chuckle. There has to be a psychological payoff at the end, because if you don't pay them off at the end, the next time they see your video, they're not going to watch it. If they know they're going to get an emotional or psychological payoff at the end of the video, next time it comes up, they're going to watch it because they want that some sort of endorphin hit at the end. So it is very calculated. It's just something I came up with naturally. I call it the hook, meet, payoff. And I think that's my formula. And I think it's important because, again, you're almost psychologically incentivizing people to watch your video. And if you can get them that payoff at the end of the video, they are more likely to share your content.
It's obviously working because, again, I like it. But I had to ask. I said, God, I said, can he hold all that in his head? I bullet point and fly by the seat of my pants when we do the show because I like I like the spontaneity. I don't like too much structure, although I do need a producer to keep me on track because I get sidetracked a lot. I have my good days and bad days, but pretty much, again, what you see is what you get. It can only get better from here. But you, my friend, when I watch all your clips, they're just precise. And I'm going, man, I go, he might be that good, and I go, or is he reading? Because I go, how can he retain such? It's just structured really nicely, and that's why you are who you are, and that's why you've got the club and the fans that you've gotten, and it's gone, and it's really paying off. I want to tell everybody if they want to find you. Am I correct that they can find you? Is that the best place to find you at, like mattkim
You
podcast?
can find me there. I'm on pretty much all the platforms. So I'll be on TikTok or Instagram. Instagram is probably my biggest platform. On X, I stream on Rumble. It depends on what your preferred way of consumption of media and content is. If you like TikTok, I'm on TikTok in a very TikTok-y type way. If you like Rumble, then that's where we stream. We have more of these types of conversations because that's what the platform is for. If you're on YouTube, good luck because, YouTube is tough.
Yeah, we'll find out.
But basically, whatever platform you're on, we engage to that platform. I believe that every platform is different, that the population and the people that consume on that platform consume it in a different way. People who live on TikTok live on TikTok. People who live on Instagram live on Instagram. People who live on YouTube live on YouTube. People who live on Rumble live on Rumble. What they want out of their content is different. So we engage with every single platform differently. So whatever your preferred form of content is, you can find me there. If you just search Matt, at this point, if you just search mattkim, you'll be able to find me on every single platform.
True, because that's how pretty much I was just doing a little bit of research prior to when we were putting all this together. And I said, let me start Googling and see where we're going. That's where I found the Tucker Carlson thing. And then I started looking, I go, well, okay, pretty much I put your name in and it comes up. Because with me, it's like there's so many Peter G's. If you don't put in Peter G show, you won't. But the minute you put in show, it's like everything pops up. But there's a lot of Peter G's, and it's like, But you've done a great job, and I was really kind of skeptical because the way I found you was through either Instagram or TikTok. It was one of the two, and I can't get arrested on Instagram. I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I just can't do it. It's not working there. It works on some platforms for me, and some it doesn't yet. And I'm going. When you see somebody and the first thing you do is like, well, let's see what, how popular he is. I'm going, oh, this guy's probably going to say, oh, fuck that. I'm not, who is this guy? but you came. You know, I pretty much dogged you for a while because I just want a yes or a no. That was all.
Of course.
But you came on, and I'm glad. You're probably going to be one of my record breakers of time that we've spent, because we're talking about things that are so important that I just wanted to get as much as we could out of you right now, because life is busy. Who knows when the next time will be, which I hope there'll be in next time if we can, because people need to hear this stuff. So I want to say if you're ever bored, but I know that's not going to happen. But we'll maybe we can try this again down the road after the elections or something like that. We'll see, just for a little banter. But I want to thank you for coming on the show. I really do, because I know that you're going to make a difference, to my audience. And I strongly urge my audience to Google him and look him up and go see what Matt Kim has to offer. But again, I know you got things going on. We all have life, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show.
Hey, Peter, thank you so much for having me. And if you've made it this far and you're still watching and you're still listening, share Peter's show.
Thank you. Thank you for the. It's a pity plea.
I mean, that's the only way this thing works.
You're right. You're right.
The people that you like, the people you have to support, the people that you trust, and don't worry about everyone else. Just support the people that you listen to. That's it.
I've always said I'd rather have a 100 diehard fans than 1,000 of the people that just accidentally bump in and come and go. And that's how it's always been with this show. And little by little, again, because we started with nothing. I mean, I learned how to take a turd and polish it to a shiny chrome, and just like, started with nothing. I had an idea, but technically I hate being technical. I want to be the entertainment part of the entertainment. But came a point, especially during COVID, my producer at the time was very COVID, iffy about the whole deal. And fortunately, I was already getting into this mode when all those main shows, all the nightly, your Stephen Colbert's and all those shit shows that are on, they all had to go to their house, and it really showed that they don't have it when they're stripped naked. That there's nobody telling the audience when to clap and this and that. And when you talk into a dead camera, you better be relying on your own wits. And wow, they just blew me out of the water on how they've forgotten how to rely on their own skills. And so we kept on going through COVID. I mean, there was no stopping because I was already doing that show. But anyway, here we are. I thank you for doing this, truly from the bottom of my heart. We'll just hook up again. It's a small world, and but the show will live on. It's going to go to all the different platforms. I hope that I can say that. Wow, what a game changer, because I want to hope to that we reach somebody's minds and shift them a little bit. But thanks again, buddy. I love you.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, everybody, one last look at the infamous Matt Kim. Go find him. Just Google his name, Matt Kim. You can find him on his own personal podcast page, or you can find him on TikTok, Instagrams. You don't do much of Facebook, YouTube channels, all the above. Just Google Matt Kim. I'm telling you, he'll come right up. All right, wave goodbye to everybody. Thanks again. There you go. Uno momento. Ooh. Wow. As Matt said, if you're still watching or listening to this show, give yourself a pat on the back. I think we're about broke the record as longest running show, because I've done a lot of long shows because I can. Nobody's really telling me what to do. It's going to be hell if I ever have to be pressed on an hour show that only has 40 minutes of content, but I'll get used to it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed Matt Kim. I knew he'd be a plethora of information and a great delivery on the things that we were talking about. I do want to remind you again, like he said, please support, subscribe, follow, like, share. It's really important stuff. That's how we do it. I don't spend all this. If I had $1 gazillion, you could throw a bunch of money in advertising, and you throw enough money at anything, even if you suck, you can be relevant. I truly believe on flying by myself. It's like you either like me or you don't, and the guests I bring on. So I hope you liked it. All right. I'm Peter G. Thank you for watching Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show, every Wednesday, like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. on the East Coast. Super God willing, because That's all we got nowadays. Need all the help I can get. I hope you enjoyed the show. I really do. I did. I got a lot out of it. But that's it. So we'll just see you next time. As always, be kind. Oh, I forgot. I got a special little thing for you. Be kind. You don't have to take a lot of shit from people. It's a tough world out there. I know it is. But you don't have to be an ass either. Life is short. Take a deep breath. Handle your business. All right? I love you guys. My name is Peter G. And thanks for watching the Peter G Show. Peace out.
I'd like to thank Speaker Mike Johnson. I call him my little bitch for sending us more money so we can buy more mansions and yachts and cocaine. I love cocaine. I was actually running out of cocaine until the speaker decided to betray his party and send us all these billions of dollars. Now I will call El Chapo and get a freaking ton of delicious cocaine delivered straight to me big, beautiful mansion. As the great American comedian Dave Chappelle once said, I'm rich, bitch.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single